Get to know all your favorite VRChat DJs all in one place. This is VRCDJ Live.
A very special time of the night and a very special month as we lead into what we call Industry Month here in VRCDJ Live. And glad to have you guys here for a little bit of a later programming as far as what we've got cooking on here on the show. But we like to keep it kind of fun and functional when it comes to our guests and topics and things to talk about within the program. And especially today, having a much later show, you're definitely going to want to stick around for all the answers and all the questions here on the show. But welcome on in to VRCDJ Live. I'm Rob Roman, your host, and for all of you new people joining us here, welcome on in. We're a bunch of DJs talking to DJs here in VRChat, and everybody within our community, from club owners to dancers to VJs. We haven't had any VJs on outside of groups yet, so hopefully we'll get some VJs soon to kind of break down that whole entire concept. But DJs and promoters and community members, and having everybody part of the community too. I love having you part of the program because we love to continue to dive into the massive economy that we have cooking here in VRChat. And of course, it being a live show, a very good way for you to interact. And having our guests here today, actually a very fun time to have our guests here to kick off Industry Month, especially for VRChat. And obviously, they've been friends for quite a long time. Literally the faces of most of the VRChat updates that we see online. I would say most because there are a couple of other developers that are part of those updates too. So, and would I say the birth parents of the Cube? Would you say that you guys are the?
Please don't make it canon. People are gonna take that way too seriously.
Yeah, who was the inventor of the Cube? Have you guys kind of nailed that down?
I don't know.
Cube.
Yeah, the Cube.
The Cube. The Cube just exists.
Whoa.
Oh,
don't talk ill about the Cube, otherwise you're just gonna fly away.
This is what happens.
It's very powerful. Anywhere we are, it will choose to affect.
Yeah,
obviously.
I mean, the Cube is, it was, it shall be, forever, it will be. That kind of just is.
Yeah,
and that's fair enough. But joining us here on VRCDJ Live, head of community Tupper and senior community manager Strasz of VRChat. Guys, welcome on into VRCDJ Live.
Thanks.
I kind of feel like it was only a matter of time to have you here on the show, but at the same time too, like, I don't know, I feel like all of this time it has to cook, it has to kind of marinate a little bit about the things that we have on the show, talking about our community, and it's also kind of hard to find time during like the weekends, especially. I mean, the weekdays everyone's working or developing or doing all sorts of stuff, but loosely, what do you guys think about the weekends as far as how aggressive the community is in doing DJ stuff?
I mean, I think you're right, that the weekends are kind of tough to compete with, right? There have been several weekends where you just look at VRCTL and it's like, oh, there's no shortage of things to do, but also, holy shit, what am I going to do? There's like, you literally have to go in the group DM with the boys and be like, all right, where are we going? Like, this is too much. You guys choose.
And even more so, like, just for the fact that, like, you have to plan it out a little bit, especially with the timeline. You could dedicate, like, I would say close to 6 hours. If you're going to have a really solid day to come in to see DJs, it would probably be 6 hours and maybe jump every 30 minutes or so.
Mm-hmm. I think that's solid. But, you have a different opinion?
So I've gotten to I've evolved, and by that I mean I essentially I just lock into one place. That's like essentially what I've fundamentally have accepted.
That's kind of bold to be able to be like, you know what, I'm gonna sit here for the whole time, and depending on how late the event is, you're just gonna chill.
Yeah, no, okay, so basically what I look at is I'm like very old school. The first thing I look at is like who's playing, and by who's playing I mean what genres are they playing. I used to be the kind of person where I would just go to, I'd be in VR for like 7 or 8 hours on a Friday or a Saturday, and I would be there, and I'd get off at like 4 or 5 a.m. and take my headset off and be like, "Oh God," and like crawl on the bed and then wake up at like 2 the next day.
Ugh.
But I'm 36, so I can do that, but I can't keep. It's not a good idea.
Yeah.
It's not like conducive with the other things that I want to do in my weekend. So I limit myself. I just find like an event or two where I'm like, okay, I know the music here is going to be stuff that I really want to be here for. And then I just stay for that event. Maybe I go and talk to some other friends and then I log off. I used to make a big attempt at like trying to bounce to this place and that place and this place and that place. But I found that it's too tiring. You spend so much time trying to like, uh, do a social checklist rather than actually being present and enjoying the space for what it is. So yeah, I know I just lock in and if I miss stuff, I miss stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also good
there's
to just be able to
definitely.
sit there too. Go ahead. Yep.
Oh, I was just gonna say that, like, I agree totally. Like, I'm, if we're quoting ages, I turn 39 tomorrow, so I feel it. But the feeling is definitely like, who said that? Who the fuck said that? But it's weekends are very precious, especially when you're doing work stuff. But I've also had the experience where it's like I had a bit more time, I had a bit more energy. I've been playing VRChat since I worked this out the other day, since I was like 32, which is kind of wild. So back then when I had way more energy, and I would hop on the weekend and go on like a not 60-hour, but an 8-hour bender, and hop into, various events and things like that. It is a lot of fun to hop around, just kind of rapid fire, like, what's everybody doing? So I feel that. So if you're capable of it and your brain's in the right place to do it, hell yeah, do it. But
I feel like I'm going to put my 2 cents in too, just because of the fact that I feel like there was a certain hump in my life, and I'll go ahead and say it. I'm turning 38 this year, so oh my gosh, there's a ton of old people in VRChat, crazy. But just the fact alone that like I get into full body and it's a whole process, but at the same time I can't be standing around in full body. I'm glad that people are laying down in full body because I get it, but like at the same time too, like a couple of hours of full body is standing around, you're like, wait a minute, I get paid 8 hours a day to stand around compared to me standing around for another 8 hours. That's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I put on, I don't lay down in full body. I definitely sit down though. Like, I'll stand up, calibrate, sit back down. It's like, all right, this is where I'm going to be. So.
And kind of another good transition too, when the fact of going into seeing all these different experiences too, especially having you guys go in and being a developer for VRChat. Does that really become a big celebrity status for you guys? I mean, I would assume it happens much more than a lot of people realize.
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult to call it out without it feeling rude from my perspective, right? Like, I don't mind when people run up and say hi, or even want to take a picture, but it is something that you have to continually be aware of. Like, if you're around, and if I'm not around friends that like have known me and I trust them after like a couple of years, like I can kind of loose a little bit, actually be like myself, make a couple shit post jokes, that kind of thing. But if I'm representing in any way where it's like I have this invisible image that someone has put on to me during their time of observing me, or watching videos, or with Strasz, like seeing you like on the stream patch notes, that kind of thing, all that time, then you kind of have to play defense for that a little bit. It's not really, it's funny because you kind of can characterize that as like you're lying, you're misrepresenting yourself, but at the same time, kind of a company thing, kind of I don't want to stir the pot. I just want to be nice. I just want to be kind to people. And that kind of thing. It's not a burden. I don't think it's ever a burden. You should run up. If you see me, you should run up and say hi. Like, please, it's fine.
And just make sure that the space is good too. You're not just running up asking for a hug, or like constant petting, or like the typical VRChat stuff, I would suppose.
Yeah. It's a little weird sometimes. So I get it. I don't actually get it a lot from the VRChat side of things. There's like every blue moon, one person will run up to me and be like, "You're the patch notes person," and like I'll be like, "Yeah, that's me." But
do you have a line that people ask you to say like while you're doing the patch notes, and like kind of like if they're gonna come up to me and say, do the Rob Roman's voice line kind of a thing?
Yeah, can you
Sometimes
say a
people,
random version number, please? Can you just
yeah,
give
people,
me a
yes,
couple
yeah,
version
yeah.
numbers?
People will want me to do a version number, which I think is funny. But I would say that like probably 8 times out of 10 that someone's walking up to me and saying like, "I know you," it's because of, uh, the video essays that I used to make, and that's also because of the spaces that I tend to spend time in. So, like, I spend probably most of my personal VR time in, like, rave or rave adjacent spaces, and a lot of people had seen my video, and that's how they made it into that space, and because I kinda took, like, a bit of a hiatus from, spending a lot of time in VRChat for, like, a year or 2, uh, a lot of people will walk up to me and say, like, "Oh, I've never seen you before. I've never had a chance to, like, say hello and say that, like, your thing brought me here." And I always obviously, I appreciate that stuff. I think, this has been, like, a popular talking point on Blue Sky, Twitter, etcetera lately, but, like, artists and people that make things have no idea like, we hear is our self-talk all the time. So, like, no one really knows how impactful your stuff is, and so it's always
Mhm.
nice, like, to receive a compliment from someone for something like that. So that's
Yeah.
nice. I think the only thing, and Tupper can probably back me up, the only time that it's weird and bad, and, like, if this is you, don't do it, is that there'll be some people, and this is very rare, this is, like, 1% of the time total. Someone will walk up to you and be really confrontational about, like,
Oh yeah.
something that just changed in VRChat. So, like, back in the EAC days, they would come up to you and they would, like, wanna have a debate with you personally about EAC. And
Yeah.
it's like, I had this in person even, where it was like someone came up to me when I was at a con and was like, trying to debate me, and I'm like, "Brother, I'm a community manager. Like, I don't know what
Yeah.
your
Yeah, let me just whip
I don't know
out
what
my
the plan is
tablet and
here."
get to work right now, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me go click the turn off EAC button. So
Yeah,
wait,
Yeah,
and
hurry
that's
up! You
hold
only have
on.
5 minutes. You go up, gotta get in there under 5 minutes.
Yeah, I say that as a joke,
yeah,
but I am fairly certain that there is a turn off EAC button.
almost
I
certainly,
think
yeah.
there actually, yeah, I think there is actually a switch, but
Yeah,
we're
but
not hitting it.
but don't approach you on a
Yeah,
Saturday when
yeah,
you're having a good time and you're relaxing.
yeah. Not
Yeah,
exactly. I totally get it. There's been a lot of people who have kind of turned it into like the, there's there's two forms here that there's the real form and then there's the what they're perceiving. The real one is like we are faces of the company in a lot of ways, shapes, and forms. VRChat is unique in that a lot of people that work at the company can act as that in kind of a dynamic fashion. If you go to another company our size, like that's absolutely not the case. Like if you go to, I don't know, what's a similarly sized company that's kind of like that? I don't know. Valve is pretty big, but like it's a decent example. You would never have someone like go up and say, "Yeah, I'm going to represent our opinions about the latest TF2 changes." Um, Hell no. They'd get Gabe would show up at their front door. But here, like, we kind of encourage people to be a little bit open, don't like share, secrets or future stuff. But if, you want to give your opinion or what you think about a new feature, what people are doing, that's fine. That's the face thing. But what people perceive that is okay, this is a face because I can talk to this person. That means that they have the capability to make vast sweeping decisions. Or have reasoning on those vast sweeping decisions. Like, the marketplace is another recent one. Um, that's pretty contentious. A lot of people have opinions about that. And, we want to hear the feedback. If you try and like argue a thing with us, it's like, what do you want me to do? And that has happened in a couple of events. And thankfully, the events I've been to, a lot of the spaces, especially the ones that are like the kinds of ones that Strasz and I both like go and sit for a while. So I'm thinking like, Shelter, Resumu, a bunch of other, damn it, I'm trying to think, Kaleidoscopy, Contact, the ones where we'll sit there and stay there for a while. The owners there will typically intervene or that kind of thing, which is really nice. Never
Yeah.
asked people to do that, but it's happened. It also
And it's-
happens in a World Hop group that we're both part of. That one's way more aggro. That guy gets
yeah.
super aggro about it.
But it's also good too to
Getting
like be able to be able to provide some sort of tidbit or knowledge outside of just saying I can't talk about it. There's always something that you can discuss or talk about or even redirect and be like, especially in the case of like, let's just say somebody approaches you guys about something that they dislike or outside of writing a ticket, which is an obvious thing that you should probably do so you could document over the things that have been happening. But of course, there is that customer service kind of part of you that has to be like, we understand. We've heard it from a lot of people, and we'll take it into consideration. But at the same time, too, you don't just walk up to like, somebody on the weekends and just be like, I got to go back to work on Monday, kind of a thing. Well, we could talk about it on Monday. We got to fill out a ticket so that you could remind me. Yeah. So,
yeah. Oh, before we move on, Tiddly has noted that you might not have Strasz's avatar fully
I
shown.
fixed that.
You just
I fixed
fixed
that.
it. Nice.
And
okay.
occasionally things like that happen in this game. Is the fact that
Perfect.
sometimes your safety settings go on for reason. And listen, I have a 4080. You think that would work harder, but on Saturday nights when everybody's performing on
true.
I got to make sure that either everyone's a diamond or.
Yeah, I've had mine set to none for like so long, and like I mostly treat it as just like a if something's really really bad, then this is just on me at this point. Not entirely. If you have a complete garbage avatar, it is partially on you.
True, and also too, this is the program to start talking about that sort of stuff. We will kind of lead into a little bit of the hypotheticals when it comes to performing in here, or I know later on there's those types of questions I feel like a lot of people want answers to, but even more so of the fact of like, we've got the safety settings on now. You don't have to answer it now. I mean, but we'll get into it a little bit later, but even just the fact of like, what works best in a venue scenario of being able to put on your safety settings comparable to asking for poor or better as far as the performance standards go. And I there's a lot of miscommunication with that too, because like in the way I've been looking at it, and obviously we have a lot of things to discover here on the show for 2 hours, so we're gonna get there. We have to. But like some of the things that I always go back to is just the amount of data size that like a Quest 3 can provide without it exploding or melting or anything like that. Because I would hate for you guys to get tickets over that. Oh, VRChat, melted my Quest 3. Like what? Okay.
We do kind of get those already, like, right? Especially for a Quest 2. Like, if you look at the reviews in the Metastore, almost all of the reviews are either for someone running into someone shitty on the internet, which is like, okay, yeah, understandable, or it's for terrible performance, which is like, if you're put yourself in the place of someone who would go and buy a Quest 2 or a Quest 3 and use that as kind of your primary device, like a non-pejorative use of the term normie, like a normal person, and they put it on and this thing runs like garbage, of course you're going to leave a bad review. You're not going to understand that the reason it's running like garbage is because someone has shoved a 300 megabyte avatar into your poor little cell phone you're wearing on your face and it's choking and dying. The same goes for PC, but the problem is that like it's a magnitude of scale kind of thing. Like it's the same problems but just multiplied more. That's going to be the short answer to the hard questions, by the way, regarding performance. It's just avatars. It's just avatars. It's just avatars. It's always just avatars.
A fun little question that I've been thinking a little bit about, only because I personally don't know the answer, is when it comes to like reporting a ticket for like a world that says that it's Quest compatible, but when you're on Quest standalone and it gets really, really terrible performance, does VRChat kind of send that the creator like an email saying, hey, probably should work on your performance? Hey, what kind of response from that ticket does it go into those worlds that get ticketed?
Right. I think we do. Do we take like low performance reports? I think we do, but they're not really, they're a data point right now. Like there's no action being taken on them. In the future, we probably could have some kind of automated system that says, hey, your world has gotten like, more than normal low performance reports. You should check on your performance on these platforms and like list them out. We'll probably get to that eventually, which is going to be the response for a lot of things like that. But yeah, the answer to your question directly is not much, which is unfortunate, but it's how it goes.
And then those worlds kind of change too. I mean, there's always new worlds coming in, new technologies of understanding of how to put together the Quest kind of worlds. And I mean, I would say, the research between now and the end of the year, even the holiday, we just keep hearing rumors of all sorts of different headsets and all sorts of different things coming down the line for the holidays and stuff like that. And it'll be really fun once we get even more information about it. But that I would assume that's kind of the trick when it comes to, or the tricky part about the social simulation, is just the fact that we're ever growing and ever trying to understand better performance for a small amount of space and in a toaster kind of on your face.
Yeah. Well, it depends. Like, it's interesting, and I mean, we can go into this in a separate part too. But like, what you're talking about is like the Quest experience, and then there's the PCVR experience, which in fidelity is night and day, right? Like, you have someone who's been that normie guy, John Normie, he puts on a PCVR headset. I've seen this happen. I've watched this happen in first person. They go from the Quest, they've been using it for a month, and then they put on the PCVR headset, and they're like, holy shit, this is completely
Night and
different.
day.
Like,
Yeah.
night and day isn't even a big enough like comparison point. But the problem is that when you get into the high-end experiences, like the ones with 80 people shoved inside of it, and, you know, lights and all kinds of stuff going on, streaming audio, and even with a 4090, even with a 9800 X3D, even with 64 gigs of RAM, you're pushing to the limit. And part of like, if you're looking for a hot take in this show, one of the hot takes I have is that if you reduce performance in your world for any reason, you are placing a financial cap, a financial entry ticket to get into your event. Like, you are requiring someone to spend, you know, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to get into your event, which is wild. And people do it unintentionally; they don't know. But ever since I characterized it like that,
I am gonna rant.
okay,
Yeah,
do
this is the show. Come on in. It's 2 hours.
I fundamentally agree on a deep level, and so there's this concept in management, and I learned this when I worked at my past company. It's called Parkinson's Law, and it's basically that the amount of time you have to complete a task is how much time the task will take to complete. So if you have 2 hours, the task is going to take 2 hours. If you have 40 hours, the task is going to take 40 hours. I think that there is something that is equivalent with performance, and I think that you see this on all levels. Obviously, you see it outside of VRChat with, you'll see people complaining about like game optimization, whatever. But in VRChat, I think you see it on the specific level, and this is something that drives me insane. Um, I recorded the back in 2021 was when I recorded my video on the VRChat rave scene, and I was recording footage in OBS while I was in VR in 80-person clubs in 2021 on a 1080 Ti and like an 8700K, I think. And I was getting probably only like 20 to 30 FPS, but that was okay at the time. Um, I have a 3090 now and a 7800 X3D. Literally like gargantuan leap in terms of performance.
Yep.
I can be in clubs today and I will get worse frames than I did 3-4 years ago.
It's so true.
And the thing is the reason why is because fundamentally, as hardware has increased, rather than people saying, "Oh, this is great, it's going to be smoother," what everyone has done is there's been this behavioral change in the club scene where people have stopped doing some of the social things that they used to do 4 years ago. Like if you went to Loner or Shelter, in 2021 and you showed up in a very poor avatar, there were going to be 3 people that were going to tell you in various forms of politeness that you need to like optimize or get out. Nowadays, you'll just like turn around in any of those clubs and you'll see basically 90% of the people will be in very poor avatars, and not just like very poor on the line. Like there's a lot of people that'll be like, "Oh, it's just my polygon." No, you're going to see people that are going to have like plus 300 megabyte like download size or uncompressed size. You're going to see people that have just a billion materials, just literally not even a attempt, not even like you could install darks. You could just do the absolute bare minimum, not even having to think about it, optimization, and it's just not done. And part of it is just the attitudes have changed, and it's kind of become passe to go up to people and say, "Hey, buddy, your avatar is, it's kind of, we've gone over to this." Well, it's, if people want to, you have the tools to turn it off. I hang on. I think like this is also like a club design thing. I think it falls on people that run clubs. I think that we tend to look for situations, and this is kind of my design brain, which I barely have, but it exists in there somewhere. I think that there's a tendency to try to use design and like programmatic and like systemic functions like software solutions to solve problems. And I think that just creates more problems. I think fundamentally the issue to all of these things is literally social pressure, but that's scary and it's hard and it requires a lot more difficult work. And it requires putting the burden on people that necessarily can get burned out and don't want to do it anymore. But I think it's doesn't matter. That's the literally only way to effectively do it. It's, lots of clubs, shelter, which we'll probably say a billion times. I love shelter,
Yeah.
whatever, but I think it's a design mistake to put like the volume cap on people. What do people do when their voices get muted? They just crank their volumes all the way
Shelter
up.
volume curve, baby.
Yeah, and
It's the
like,
thing of like, if it's too cold, you turn on the hot water faucet. Too hot, you turn up the cold one.
Yeah.
and what I actually now hear is like when people do talk next to you in clubs like that, and it's no longer like appropriate to be like, "Hey, could you shut up?" Like back in the day, you used to hear people be like literally get out of
Oh, I
why
got
are you in
yelled
the
at a
front?
ton.
Like get out of the front. This is for people that are here for the music, right? Like go back there and
Yeah.
talk. That's totally fine. You don't see that anymore because there's a system solution. You can just or people just tell you just mute people. That's stupid. I hate that. Just tell people to shut up. Tell people to optimize their avatars.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
Sorry.
I totally agree. No, I agree. Your passions are great. They're very noted in the fact you're so passionate about it. But it makes a little bit of sense too, because there's so many people that actively like for example, the fact that I didn't have you weren't lit up, and now you're all lit up and now you're wonderful. But at the same time too, like even in an instance of like I can't function with everybody's avatars moving at the same time when I'm up there DJing. I think everybody knows this as a DJ, and you see a lot of diamonds. And so when you have a diamond in front of you waving or doing something, you're like, oh, hey, like I can't see you because you're a diamond. And then they kind of take offense to that. But at the same time, too, you would think that if you put your fingers in a toaster, you probably shouldn't because it's not food. Like you probably shouldn't be doing that. And you should learn from that.
It could
and
be
it's
food.
hard. It's food for some, but it's don't say finger food because that's terrible. All right, you're showing your age.
I was just thinking that too.
Oh, that's terrible,
man.
dude. Oh no, it was a good setup though. But that's the thing too. Is just like it's a constant battle, especially all the things that we got going on in here. Is that everybody wants the latest, greatest, but we also have to deal with the stuff that is constantly being a part of it. One of those things, again, with shelter, is kind of the voice space distance as far as talking and being able to talk or being the part of the experience and stuff like that. It's great too. And I'd love your opinions on it as we carry on into the program is we continue to break down like the perfect venue doesn't exist anymore. I want to just be able to throw that right out the window just because of the fact that it never really does. We've got so many different great clubs in here and different genres and stylings that you can find your own perfect venue. And I don't want to debunk, sorry people at home, but I don't want to debunk that, but that's kind of a theory. It's just like, you could hate on shelter because they have those restrictions, or you can really like it because it's in tune to what you want. But at the same time too, you can't not deny that, you should probably put a little bit more care in your avatar than just slopping it together and say, all right, this works. There you go.
Yeah.
Just kind of moving on.
I mean, I agree completely, like with the hot take of it. Like I as Strasz does, I also love shelter, but there are definitely like that voice curve thing. There's been they do it in it's acceptable, but only just like I kind of get why they do it. I understand the reasoning. I don't personally agree with it, but it's also like it's an intent sort of thing as well. Like I understand I'm not agreeing with it. I understand the reasoning that people are saying, like it's because you're supposed to come here and enjoy the music, so you don't need to listen to people. And you kind of do get the vibe of leaning in next to people and yapping at them like you do at a real club because it's so damn loud and everybody has earplugs in, so you got to get right up next to them. So yeah, it's an immersion thing kind of too. But there's also like there's design approaches when you're dealing with venues that, like Strasz said, a lot of them are programmatic, a lot of them are systemic, like things that you implement using systems, but then there are ones that are implemented using form. Probably the most famous one and the most influential one in VRChat is the one that Loner started, which is like, hey, squish everybody the hell in. Stop pretending you have a giant outdoor concert. It's going to look empty as hell. Shove people in a room. It's going to be great. And they're right. Like both Loner did that really early on. Shelter picked up on it damn quick, and then everybody else started doing the same thing. That's a great design. But there are some designs that started to pick up steam and people started doing as well. I forget, I don't want to name these guys either because it is kind of me being rather harsh, but someone had like a voice curve system that was, you have a cone and this is where people can hear you, and you have a listening cone and it's like right in front of you. And if someone's behind you talking at you, then you just don't hear them. And it cuts you off immediately when you cross the, I hate that so much. It is the worst. Like that, I almost left that venue just because of that. But I had 2 drinks and then I was fine. Not much. But low frame rate and bad audio doesn't matter as much once you get just a little bit of, liquid dealing with it in you. So
there you go. Right.
Yeah.
It's VRCDJ Live. We're sitting here with with some of the development team. We can't all fit all of you behind the table here, unfortunately.
Oh, we could try.
With
be pretty tight.
With Tupper and Strasz here, and of course within VRCDJ Live, we're here for 2 hours. We're answering your questions, and I feel like we've kind of given a lot of people a whole week to kind of put together some of their questions for the team. And as far as we were communicating, pretty much everything's on the table. This is a place for us to discuss and kind of talk about things. We can't make decisions here. You guys can't just make final decisions here, but it's good to hear from the community, to hear what they like, what they don't like, what they want changed, some suggestions on some things. I mean, that would be kind of cool. And leading into our next kind of topic here is I want to know, because you guys have been in here for a bajillion years. All right. I'm not saying that you are the oldest people in VRChat. I don't assume so.
No. But I know some 70-year-olds in here, so no, definitely not.
Well, no, I meant like legacy people that have been in here since the dawn of time. Yeah.
Yeah. There's
But,
people. There's a lot of people who've been here longer.
But knowing a 70-year-old person here would be kind of cool too. But even
yeah.
more so with the fact of like the changing landscape of the rave scene in here. Kind of want your opinion on it, because I feel like you guys have been around since like maybe the 2019 when it first started kind of kicking off and doing the video player thing, and kind of give us a little bit of a timeline, about the what you've seen so far, what you've really enjoyed so far about our community and the things we've been doing in here, and kind of leading up to what's been so interesting so far this year.
Yeah. For my short version, I mean, I know that I think the first times I heard about like DJing in VRChat was just like mic DJs and Void Club, that kind of deal. There is a group of VRChat players that came from 4chan who also ran events that they used their microphone for and would broadcast it out. And they were some of the first groups I saw it. Then there was DDVR, which was one of the early really big groups that I heard about. Never went to any of the events though. I personally got involved. I think Christmas one year, one of my friends was like, "Hey, there's this." I was up early because I had to like change out like a thing for VRChat, like our Christmas event. And my friend was like, "Hey, there's this thing called Ghost Club going on. It's a Japanese club. It's really cool. You should go join it." And I was like, "Okay." So I skipped the line a bit. Back then, the progression was, you go to all the little small clubs, different things, and then you go to like, Loner and the Early Shelter and that kind of stuff. You go through DDVR, and then like the final boss was getting into Ghost Club. I got to cheat. I immediately jumped to that. But after that, yeah. I think you have a really good layout of kind of the eras of the, we talked about this, I think, yesterday, of like different VRChat clubs. I think you should talk about that because that really lays it out well.
Yeah, so I had an interesting experience in that I kind of stumbled into VRChat clubs, and they were what was the glue for me. So I started VRChat in very late 2019. And I bounced around, and for the first couple of months, it was just like a social thing. Like I would go and talk to people. This was very much the era where you would go into drinking night and hear Rob Roman's voice, and then you would talk to people, and you could literally talk to people there. That's obviously why it was such a big deal for not old, middle school ish. Like you're not the OGs, but like when people that came in right before the pandemic rush, you'd go in and you talk to people. And so that was my VRChat experience until one day, I stumbled into a place and a guy had basically told me about the club scene, got invited into a Discord and started going to, DDVR, MVP, Resumo. And I heard about like how they all broke off from Dirty Dancers, and like I got the whole story and background, and I consider that like that's basically like the phase one of VRChat clubbing. And then I think the pandemic hit, and there were a lot of people that came into VR who uh, had real music stuff going on and completely changed the concept of what things were. And so, like the first one, and this is going to sound really critical, but it just is what it was. It is just what it was. So like in that early scene of VR chat clubs, I personally I thought they were really cool. Like Tupper said, the venues were huge. All they were big and flashy. They kind of all resembled like the mainstream American clubs, right?
Hmm.
Like really big, really like the genres that were played. A lot of house, a lot of stuff that a lot of traditional like club music, but like club music for like 2010s, not present. Um, and it was always like the same 5 or 6 DJs in every club, and to be a DJ, you had to like have like the respect and club all this nonsense. Um, what happened in 2020 to 2021 is you had people come in, see that, realize that existed, and then go, huh, and then bring their experience running real clubs into VR chat. And the first one that I think made was like the huge difference makers. And I'm specifically talking about like the Western scene is Loner. Loner came
Hmm.
in, and the thing that they did that was big for the time was one, they took a lot of inspiration from the Japanese scene because
Yep.
the people that ran Loner had gone and performed at a bunch of clubs, but mostly Mogra in Japan, which is like if people don't know what Mogra is, it's a nightclub in Tokyo where they basically just play like all weeb stuff. Like 90% of the
Hell
stuff that
yeah.
gets played there is just weeb stuff, chiptune, that kind of thing, anime music, whatever. Um, and so they played there, and they also were DJs in Melbourne. And so they built a club that was in that style. And their whole thing was they were going to basically just have their DJs and then bring people in that they knew from like that scene, as well as bringing Japanese DJs over. And I'll shout out Paul Manton here too, who was also a big part of this for Rizumu. Started around the same time bringing people in. And they started bringing in DJs, and all of a sudden, these events went from let's see the same 4 people perform and get drunk, every weekend to I'm going to go into VR chat to see like a DJ play that I've actually always wanted to see, but was always on the other side of the globe. And that quickly accelerated. And then you had Shelter, who literally 2TD came into Loner, saw what they were doing, and basically was on the tail end of just about to give up his music career, saw what they were doing, says, "Oh shit, I can do this." Literally sold like all his Mac shit, bought PC shit, started Shelter. And that started like the next phase of clubs, which it was like all of those clubs, and I throw like a couple others in there, like Dieselworks, etc. That basically started nears makes no difference the same time. Um, and they basically ran all through the pandemic. Obviously, some of them still, continue on to this day. But then you get like the next era. The next era was basically people that came in, and they came to those clubs. They watched the videos that people put out, the PBS documentary. I think Fia who you're going to be talking to later this month, put a documentary out. My thing, right? They came in, they watched those things, and they said, "Oh, this is really cool." Then they fell in love with it, and then they decided to start their own thing. And at that point, it just exploded because now it wasn't just, oh, there's these like 3 clubs and then these 3 other. Now it's like there's literally 300,000. I mean, not literally, but you know what I mean.
Right.
And that's
Right.
kind of where we're at now. And I think that
Yep.
you can pinpoint like very different, like how each era felt very differently, and they felt very differently for different reasons. But like it's all very interesting to me.
Mhm.
And I think that they're all good in their own ways. But I think that one thing that has maintained some consistency is that it's constantly improved. Like events, if you went to
Yep.
them now compared to a year ago, compared to, so on and so on, everything has always gotten better. The things that go on at events now, as far as the quality of performances, the variety of genres, what the instances look like, how they're run, things like VRCDN, how smoothly VRCDN, all that stuff has just elevated the experience from, and I know that you were there for this, from literally like Twitch streams and dropping portals and moving people from one instance to another instance.
Oh God, I
And
forgot
like,
about that.
yeah, like to what we have now, which is like, DMX lighting and all kinds of crazy shader things. And like, yeah, like and I can only imagine what it's going to be like a year from now and a year from now and so on and so on.
Mhm.
See, all of this
Yeah,
is so wild to me, especially for the fact that I know for several years we've been talking about it. Tupper and I've been talking about the fact that even when you guys come in, literally, and I've seen it with Saturday Night in the Mix as well, you would stop in and you would just get flocked by 8 people. And
Yeah.
in real, all you want to do is just hang out. You just want to be there and just do your thing. And even more so, my mods come, they're like, "Oh, Tupper's here," and I'm like, "Okay, great. I hope he's having a good time. I got to do a thing, like just let him be." But at the same time, too, again, with a cone shape, it's just the fact that everything is starting to get really massive and starting to kind of take shape all over the thing, and even starting off very early on with these clubs and having real life experiences in here, even moving forward into we're going to be talking into the VRChat IRL scene of doing venues and performing at places, and I know with Captain Duck and the Party Hub that he's been trying to keep track. He has his own new category based on all of the IRL events that are happening within the VRChat community too. So he was able to put that together last year, and we had about 13 different types of IRL VRChat kind of events happening all across the world. So all of that is just like, all of this is super intimidating, especially when you are starting out, and it's fun too to be able to see your video, and again with Fia and the PBS special too, is just the fact that like at the beginning of this program when we put it together, and with the influence of Tupper, of course, being like, well, I can't talk to everybody, let's get everybody in here so we can talk to them at the same time. It's just that fact is that I call it the boom of 2022. And we've been calling it the boom of 2022 because of that literally happening. For funny reason, the fact that those videos literally took about 2 whole years to get to that point where everybody's just like, oh, 2022, everybody's in here now. And even more so with the people that start DJing in here at 2022, they don't realize what had happened even literally like for like 4 years before that happening to get to the point of it being here. And it's kind of the same scenario of like the people that have been in here before Udon, and you have the users in here, and they're just like, oh, everybody was a green name and everything was broken and everything was this, that, and the other thing. But that was what made it kind of fun. And for the people that are in here and everything kind of works about 90% of the time and 95% of the time, they don't get to experience. I would say it's kind of an immediate improvement, but at the same time too, like there's no reason why they have to say I'm bored. Like you're bored because everything is working for you. Like wait till you go to the devouring map and the ghost is broken and you still have to beat the ghost while it's broken. That's fun. That's a fun thing to do. But even more so too is you're right. It's just like, I can't wait to see what happens next. We're in the middle of the year. Things have been ramping up quite tremendously, but it's something about this program that I love to break down and get a better understanding of, to not only make sure that we're all connected and being able to kind of go down that path collectively, but there's also a lot of people in here that want to perform as a DJ hobby, but also want to make it into a profession, and they want to start making money with it. They want to start growing and touring and making records and all that sort of stuff. So all of that is interesting. The process is even more interesting because you're watching a baby crawl to get to a walking position. But we all can collectively get there at the same time.
Yeah.
Something,
I think, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to squeeze something in. You had mentioned when you were talking about, and I forgot, this is something that blew my mind. The last time that I saw you in VR, I think I was playing, it was Hypothetical. And the thing is like, those people had invited me to DJ, and when they found out that I DJ'd and that, like, I was aware of the club scene, like, their minds were blown. They were like, VR staff DJs? And it's like, it's almost was I had to not be smug for a second, because it's like, the scene has grown so large that it's like, you respect your elders, kid. Like, like, it's like, I was here before that, like, but the thing is like, that's one of the crazy things is it's literally it used to be that everybody knew everybody. And now, like, there's people that have never heard of like any of it, and like literally have their little circle, and you'll never interact with them. It's which sounds like a bad thing, but it's a good thing, because literally that's what happens when you have like 80 plus events every single weekend. You
Yeah.
know, that just happens, and it's good and it's
I
cool.
also really liked your visuals during your set too. It was a nice little take on all of
Is
your
that
updates that you do.
Is it the CS:GO with the update like yapping in front? That's good.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
if I ever play again, I'm stealing that idea just in the background instead of Counter-Strike. I'm putting EVE Online, and I'll put everybody to sleep while I'm playing Neuro. So it works into the theme. But
Well, according to
what I
Rue,
wanted
again,
to,
you do a good job if everyone's sleeping at your set. So that's
well, that's true. Well, Rue has excellent taste, as we all know. I mean, she declared what you said earlier, which is a version of it, which is your local DJ sucks ass coming to VRChat. Which
dude, I'm so I was so happy to read that because I'm just like she would say that, but at the same time she's like, nah, I didn't really say
dude,
it.
she's
But
so right. Well, it's
I'll die on that
AVR
hill.
Raver. AVR Raver said that.
You're a raver.
But the thing I want to like call out with, especially like with the scale kind of thing, or rather with the not knowing how deep it goes, that is about scale, right? Like VRChat is a lot bigger than people really kind of expect. You gave me that stat the other day, which is like if you played World of Warcraft during the Burning Crusade era, VRChat is like kind of about that size, depending on how you read the numbers. There's some kind of wiggle room here and there, and depending on how you count their CCU versus ours, that kind of thing. But it's about the same community size, roughly speaking, which is a wild thing to say, because I remember being in World of Warcraft at that time and remembering or finding out that that level of social interaction, like the social graph goes that deep. Right, like people know people know people know people, and I saw this guy shit posting on the forums, and like, oh, we had a blue post there, and it's like there's not that much depth there. Your bacon number is pretty low. So that's also true of VRChat, right? Like, if your experience in VRChat is running around, like again, you're John Normie, and you hop on, you put the quest on, and you go to a black cat, and you hear a kid screaming what he heard his parents screaming an hour earlier at Fox News or whatever, then that might be your picture of VRChat, right? It's basically you see where you are, and then that gets projected outwards. You're observing your surroundings, and your best assumption, because it's the only information you have, is the rest of VRChat is just this multiplied over and over, and it's not. And this applies at every single level, and it even affects us. Like we have to we're at in places where there's people that behave well, or if they don't behave well, it's kind of fine. Like it's not that terrible. It's just people being shitheads or drunk or whatever. But that's not the case everywhere. And that also works at that level that you're talking about, right? Like people going to just kind of I don't want to call them entry level clubs because that sounds dismissive, but that is kind of what I mean by it. It's like places that you can get right into. They're very easy to access. They play accessible music. They're great. They get people into the scene. But if that's all you see and that's kind of where you stick, you're going to assume that's everywhere. And that's just not the case. I mean, imagine going to, again, I'm not trying to name anyone specific here because I don't want to I'm not trying to address this negatively, but you go somewhere, it's just like playing, house music, and there's a DJ in desktop mode up front, and he's like also playing on Twitch, which is like, okay, that's kind of entry level, like it's not super deep, and then immediately get slingshot into like concrete. Like your mind's gonna get fucking blown. It's completely different, and that exists every weekend.
Yep.
And that level of scale, that kind of awareness scale, is really difficult to try and explain to somebody without them having kind of a taste of it first.
it's kind of unique too, over the fact that, like, just as you were saying, there are a lot of clubs that are very open to saying, hey, welcome you in, come on in. And it's great too to be able to have those experiences, especially for those people that haven't been to clubs in here. They get their first taste of like club etiquette and what they should be doing compared to, again, running around screaming your head off, or being in a nude avatar or something like that, something ridiculous. But having those moments are kind of impeccable, and at the same time too, you learn those skills not only in here but in real life as well. God forbid that you go to Las Vegas and you go to a day club or a nightclub or something, and you roll up in there not wearing something appropriate, or you're complaining with the bouncer that the cost of admission is too much, or something stupid, But over the fact too that you are practically learning those skills in here to kind of get on with going forward with the timeline as well. And
Right.
not to completely jump the gun on this too, but this is the same case too, when as we're seeing a lot of DJs, a lot of producers in here, they're taking the next steps. Either they're making record labels or finding managers or going on tour or, you know, just doing all these big business things that they're not used to. But again, we're all trying to set the bar higher and higher to see how far we can jump comparable to their hopes and dreams of working full time and doing what they're doing. And a lot of that also too has to kind of coincide with just kind of how content creators and influencers in here have shaped the kind of lowering the gate as far as like approachability. And as you were saying too, like when we had Cyrenix on here, like he was explaining how like yeah, most of the dev team does DJ, and I was like yelling at him, I'm like, so why aren't you guys doing a showcase? And they were like, they've done it a couple times, and I'm just like, why wasn't I there? You know, like we should have been able to see that. But yeah, being a part of those instances, it's so hard because there's so much gatekeeping. There used to be so much gatekeeping, and now that gatekeeping, the gate has been lowered a little bit, that you start to find those types of people that have been on social media or on YouTube with the videos or any case, you know, for the fact for me too is like, without kind of going into what I was doing, people have known me since 2019. But I haven't been outside of my box because I was so worried that I don't know, I didn't know how to get into the scene, let alone walking up and doing the thing of, hey guys, I did drinking night. You know, can I join your club? And that's the thing too. It's like nobody can I get the DJ role. But that's the thing though. Like, you know, it's hard because you don't want to. You can't just start that. You're like, oh, I'm Tupper. I just do development. Like, you know, like I don't know. Like that's such a hard thing to do, to be able to just showcase yourself. But also too, you never know where those experiences are gonna lie. You don't know if we're gonna be going back to back or whatever we're doing until you're there and you go, oh my gosh, I'm putting the name with the face and this, that, and the other thing. And our community's done a great job trying to figure out that process. I will say Shelter is the other part of it, was the fact that everybody wants to go to Shelter. Doesn't necessarily you're going to get into the main instance because of the fact there's like 5 instances going on. So that's the only exception, because of the fact that we're still trying to figure that out. But at the same time too, like, again, this whole process is so fascinating to me alone, because it has started as a bunch of mirror dwellers, as a bunch of role players, and now that the DJ scene's getting better and you can get a console for a little bit of the cheap and you could try it as a hobby, but you could dip your toe in as a profession if you choose to, people are legit just going, oh, the hell with it. We're going to go as far out as we possibly can, try to make money, try to do the thing. And it's been so fascinating because of the fact that, like, not only are we acknowledging this, but we're trying to reshape our connection with social media as well, with YouTube and Twitch and how we're showcasing VRChat in general. We're trying to reshape that comparable to some of the things that we have been seeing in, let's just say 2021, 2022, on how the content has been kind of shifted into that role there. So I guess what I want to ask for both of you, and this is going to be kind of a out to left field kind of an answer, is that you guys get to deal with a lot of different types of clubs in here, lots of different festivals, it's not just the DJ scene in here too, but the fact that we're sitting here and we're just, you know, again, we're chewing at the fat for the past hour, just alone of just the tip of the iceberg of what we've got cooking in here. Are we kind of forecasted to see more musical style of events in here compared to like role playing? I know recently Raffle Gator's been getting a resurgence with his role play and the whole Marcus thing. Like, I can't even begin to tell you how many people outside of this simulation have known about Marcus, and they're like cosplaying Marcus at conventions. But where do you guys been kind of seeing the forecast has been going? I mean, obviously the DJ community has been blooming, but where do you guys kind of see the next greatest thing?
I mean, I actually, I wanted to mention this earlier, but I think the current era that we're in could be called an era of stability for like DJ stuff. Like we're past a lot of kind of the a nice way to put it is like the competitive beef that kind of existed between a lot of places has really simmered down. We've a lot of different places have figured out their niches, and it's okay to have a niche. Like that is kind of the point of those, so it's not a negative. A lot of places have figured out their niche. A lot of places have built a rhythm of what they're doing, and there's also best practices and tools that have been laid out. So we're in a great place, like a better place than ever for someone to come in and say like, hey, I want to start a club. How do I do it? 3 years ago, you'd get almost laughed at for asking that question, because it's like you just kind of do it and you're on your own, and it's really hard. But now it's like, yeah, you stream using VRCDN, you build a place using like some prefab stuff, you put in some lights you could use light volumes now. It's even dead easier there and it looks great. You could put in some audio link, put a screen in, a Pro TV, whatever, and just go, like, run with it. It works great. And with stuff like VRCTL and with Captain Duck's, Party Hub and all that kind of stuff, there's tons of ways to promote. Like, you can reach into the bag of like, what is actually in here? Where can I fill in? What's missing here? Funny, we've mentioned house so many times out of all the genres that are here, because there's actually not that much house playing right now in VRChat. So if you're a house fan, it's kind of hard. But if you're a house DJ, a producer,
we've been getting a lot of disco lately. I don't know if you guys been going to a lot more disco shows. What are your thoughts about that? Because for the longest time, I always thought that drum and bass was going to be king, but at the same time, everybody's kind of getting here.
I mean, I'm not going to
throw
complain
it back
about
to
that.
Disco.
I'll take drum and bass all day long.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's electro kind of like that, at least from my perspective. Electro and a couple of other people were the first, like, I don't want to call them the disco DJs, but like from my perspective, those are the first people I saw playing it. And then I go to like a couple of clubs here and there, and it's just like, oh, disco's playing, and it sounds pretty good. I'm not really a disco fan, but this is cool. I can vibe with this. It's always kind of more of a chill out, like, social vibe event when it's disco. I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have anything?
Yeah, I don't. I think I have, well, a couple. I always have something, but no, I think that we're kind of like to the two separate sorts of things. So the first part of that, I think a message that I would like to say to most of the DJ community is like, it's way bigger than you think it is. It's always growing, even in ways that you might not see. But it is also still like a fraction of the overall VRChat, like what people do. Like, when if you go on, there's so many other things that people do in VRChat that don't get the nearly the same amount of attention that DJing does, and that the music scene does, because of the nature of what it is, right? It's way easier to show. It's kind of like how there are like a lot of the really big streamed roleplay groups that like made people think that this is VRChat, this is what people tend to do, when that's not really the case. It's a small fraction of it, and that's the same thing for like a billion other communities. And those just keep, the thing is like those communities exist and grow, and over time another community that you can't predict starts up, exists, grows. So it's like, obviously now there's like, who would have predicted that there would have been, a flight prefab that would have been good enough that an entire community would spring, multiple communities would spring around that. Or same thing for, the multiple car ones that lead to like, there's racing and car and drifting communities, or the fact that we have a drone now and there's drone community. Like, there's all these communities around all these individual things. And then of course, then there's back to the music side of things. So they're always growing. There's always new things going on. Something that I often tell people is like, if you think that you know what VRChat is, then you don't. Like, you need to get out and you need to start talking to people outside of the bubble that you're in and experience like an entirely different section of VRChat. Like, if you're in the rave scene and you log on every weekend to like go into clubs and that's your entire VRChat experience, then like you are missing out on a ton of other things. Go find like people in other communities and talk to them.
Obviously we can't share like hard numbers on it, but I mean, like, a rough percentage of like the total number of people that use VRChat in a given time versus the total number of people that we estimate are like going to like venues and things like that. I think it's accurate to say it's like less than 1%, somewhere around there. Yeah, it's a tiny. This goes for a bunch of different reasons, for the same reasons that you mentioned it, but also I remember talking to some people trying to do some conflict resolution a couple of years ago. This scene is way smaller than you think it is. So that's also kind of I'm glad that we're stable now, because previously, if you piss somebody off, or if you're an asshole, frankly, then like bad. What is it? Bad gas travels fast in a small town, and this is a small ass town. So you need to be kind, basically. And that goes, both ways too. There's positives to that. If someone does something really cool, it spreads hyper fast. Light Volumes was like, I mean, that goes beyond just the club thing, but like, that was like a week and everyone's just like, this is going to fix everything. It's not. It is cool, but it's not going to fix everything. There was like a Reddit. That's what it was. Whenever I see people posting on like our subreddit, there's some good posts there, but most of the time I just want to pull like the commenter out of my monitor and shake them around a little bit. One of the ones that I see repeatedly that kind of frustrates me is like, I'm kind of bored of VRChat. All people do is just sit in front of mirrors and talk to people. And I'm like, my brother, I can tell that you are just going to the Black Cat and expecting that to be all of VRChat.
Literally at least once a month, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it is, that is a once a month, but there's several like posts that come out at time intervals. That's one of them. There's on Mondays, there's some kind of astroturfer that always posts about 2 to 3 negative posts and tries to get people worked up about it. This is a pattern. Like I've been watching it for years. It's always, they post it Saturday or Sunday night. So it gets boosted by Monday, which is a pretty common PR, like Reddit thing. But either way, that post in particular frustrates me because they're probably being honest, right? They're not lying and saying that they don't get VRChat. I believe them. But what frustrates me, it's like, that's like going to a giant like Disney park or Universal, and all you do is ride just like one roller coaster. You're like, Disney kind of sucks. I got tired of the roller coaster after the 78th ride. And it's like, yeah, I bet there's other stuff here. Go to the Harry Potter section. Go look at the DeLorean. That's all Universal. I've never been to Disney. I only went to Universal. But yeah, there's so much
Most
stuff.
people that go to
Project
Disney and
Community.
Universal, they get the food. So if they're done with the rides, they get food. If they buy merch, yeah.
I see. Pandas in chat says mentioned Project Community, and I think that's a great place to get a good picture of just exactly how small your perception is. And I'm not saying our perception is huge. It's not. One of the earliest lessons I learned in VRChat working here is that as soon as I feel like I have an idea of what everybody's doing, I'm just fucking wrong. Like I'm just always wrong. I have a decent picture. I have like maybe a 5%ish, 4-ish percentage.
Yeah, this like we have people. So like a line that we hear all the time, constantly, is people like whenever I see this, I laugh because it's always like I don't know. It's like, well, people will point at us and be like, they don't even like, do you guys even play like your game or like, you don't even know your community? And it's always one, you're right. We don't know the whole community because that's impossible. But
and nobody
almost
does.
by posting that, you're probably using it to support a statement that proves that you are only seeing your tiny slice of the community. But when Tupper was sometimes you get surprised. And one of the things that surprised me is like, I know that there's like role play and like there's like all the Star Wars like role play, like there's a lot of all these communities. I didn't know that this was a thing, that there's like, like I knew about like the aircraft, basically like the community and dog fighting and like all that.
I know what you're going to say.
There's like a milsim community in VRChat and people like do milsim stuff in VRChat. And I remember I commented on a post on the subreddit because someone had posted a video of them doing this. And I was just browsing Reddit. And obviously I'm subbed to the VRChat subreddit, but like I just had like, I'm just looking through like GIFs and whatever's popping up. And this video starts playing of this guy who's like in a ditch with like, I forget if he's holding a rifle or like a recoilless. He's holding something and like, it's like kind of on the grass, and you just see an A-10 fly by, and you hear like the bird, like the sound that everyone knows and loves, and like the title was like calling in close air support and blah blah blah, but it didn't say VRChat. And then I realized, like as I was watching the clip, the only thing that gave it away was like he moved the camera. And like the arm did the little jiggle thing that like sometimes like the IK does. And I was like, holy shit, this is VRChat. What the hell? And I go in the comments and he's like, yeah, it's this big community where we all get together like a couple times a month and we do like milsim stuff in VRChat. And I was like, I never even heard of this. But like this is a community that exists in VRChat. And if they had never made that post, I would have never known they existed.
What's funny is that I saw someone comment about that. like asking like, how do I join that? Apparently, you actually have to be like a veteran. You have to have been in the military in order to participate, because they're very by protocol in there. So like, radio calls and things like that. But I thought that was really cool too. Like, yeah, sure, I wasn't in the military, I can't go. That kind of sucks. But I probably wouldn't have done it even if that's the case. I'm just glad that that's there. But yeah, completely out of the blue. I think that should be the answer now on from like unexpected VR chat, like what people are doing with it.
Yeah.
Well, I think too,
There's
there's a
all
lot of
kinds-
people have
yeah.
to remain a little bit humble too. And one of the things that like nobody will actually know what it feels like to be working in a thing and then coming home after working from the thing to escape the thing that you've been at the entire time. And that was kind of one of the ongoing questions that I was going to start asking you guys about, was just the fact that, finding you guys is literally finding a unicorn. When you come in here, it's just like, oh my gosh, you're here. Like, oh, you exist. You're real. Like, oh my gosh, kind of a thing. But at the same time too, like, it's not even just a matter of understanding the community. You guys are part of the community, part of the development team, so it's your job to learn about the community. But the same thing is this. It's like the same thing. I'll use ice cream as an example rather than beer. But they're both the same type of thing. But like, if you're sitting making ice cream all day, you're not going to go home and eat ice cream. You're going to take some time away, maybe go drink a beer when you get home. But the same thing, if you make beer all day, you're going to go home and have ice cream. So finding you guys in here to, do a little bit of your side homework. No, not very rare. That's kind of rare to be able to do, but at the same time too, that you also have to find time. I'll also say it too, for those people that, for me, we have the show. I work on the show all week as well. But then I have to come in here Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays to sit and watch some new DJs. And you do have to find time to break it down a little bit, especially for the people that are constantly on social media trying to like poo-poo you guys of just being
God.
like, there are so many other things that you can do and introduce yourself into that that is you got to get yourself out of that element. Even just the other day too, I left my phone in my car and was walking around. I said, you know what? I'm pretty okay with this. I don't have to be on my phone all the time and go explore something else. But you're right. When it comes to in here, is that when you are hyper focus in on such a small thing, and even just the mass amount of people that are in here too, is we have to remain humble when it comes to all of this. We've had a lot of guests on here that DJ, and they're starting to learn about the IRL DJing scene too. But when it was time for me to go to the Winter Music Conference in March to talk to record labels and producers and promoters and stuff, explaining the size that we have in here, they were just like, we have billions in the world, that could also experience this, but at any given time, you're looking at maybe like 98,000 active users at any given time, comparable to whatever, that's active, I suppose, running around compared to the 6-digit number that you could potentially have. But people keep forgetting about that. And sometimes you have to say, oh my gosh, you're right. Maybe you are popular here. Maybe I'm popular here, but within a small village compared to, anything else that could be massively out there.
Yeah, for sure. I think it really does come down to that scale. Like what we were talking about before, it is just a, small town kind of thing. Even at VR, like full VRChat, like users scale, it's still a pretty small town. But that being said, it doesn't like, you'll hear a lot and there's a lot of articles and stuff written about it, but VRChat basically serves as a third place for a lot of people. It is what people come home to after they make ice cream or beer all day. At least for me personally, I've got over 8,000 hours in VRChat. And it's like that's the response I have for like the comments, like what Strasz said earlier, where it's like, do you even use your own app? It's like, yeah, we kind of have to tell people to stop sometimes. On our team, it's actually kind of an issue. I think one of our team members is in the top 10 hours online. Yeah, I think she's like 6 or 7 on Steam. But yeah, like obviously we use it, but as far as impact, it's just kind of, it's the social graph. The social graph is quite shallow when compared to real life. And it's not a bad thing. It just means that you're capable of, you can get in there. You can make it, you can have an impact. You can just be present, talk to a couple of people, and you can make a difference in some way, shape, or form. You can affect the landscape of VRChat pretty easily. And I think that's kind of from a gamification standpoint, that's kind of the cool point. that sounds a bit sociopathic, trying to gamify social networking essentially. But if you think about it that way, I mean, and you're worried about like, hey, I want to make a difference. I kind of want to be important. I kind of want to be like someone that, someone sees and it's like, oh, you're the guy that did the thing. Totally possible here. And it's going to be, you can make something that's going to make a big difference and help a lot of people, whether it be an event or a tool or whatever.
Same thing goes to the same thing of like overbooking for club events and stuff like that. Everybody wants to get on the bookings. We've talked even with Jigsaw. We had Jigsaw on here, and he was explaining that there was a time where he had 3 bookings on one day. And I'm like, you probably should cool your jets there, guy. I mean, you don't have to be at every club at any time. Yeah, you could do as much justice in 1 hour of performing on a Saturday and then go take a nap or relax. People are still here. Yep. People are still going to care. You don't have to be here constantly.
Yeah, there is definitely a measurement to it. And in fact, like this week is VRChat has a very nice vacation week that we kind of move some like holidays around. So instead we have just kind of 1 week during the summer to offset the long distance until the winter break again. And that's this week. And I have had to tell my team, including you, 2 or 3 times so far. No, 2 times so far. Hey, like stop looking at shit. Don't look at our social media unless there's a fire, and we'll tell you if there's a fire, like go do something else. Because last couple of months we've been burning pretty hard, but I don't want people to burn out like a lot. We've ridden very close to that line several times on the community team, very, very close. And like, it's tough to say that because it feels like I'm blaming somebody or something. Like, this fucking community is so getting on our shit, that kind of thing. But it's really just, it's an aggregation of kind of what you're talking about, right? It's that I get off of work, I hop in VRChat. I work at VRChat, I get off of work, I go into VRChat.
And it's okay to explain that too, especially because it's not that. I mean, people care about you and people see you guys on the developer streams and the updates and stuff like that. But outside of that, compared to what you see in here, you guys are just human and you guys are in here having a good time. And it's okay to be able to say that. It's okay to break it down and just be like, because there's so many people on the internet, they could take it a negative way and just be like, oh, they got 2 weeks off. They're not doing anything. Blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, too, it's like,
I'm right. I'm not doing anything right now. I'm playing EVE Online all week.
Yeah, I was going to say, shut up and take your vacation and enjoy it, because wouldn't you know it, that you guys are going to be working your buns off come Spookality and the holiday season.
Oh, God. Yeah, don't. Oh.
Listen. We're already halfway there, and we were kind of talking about it, but we can carry on. It's VRCDJ Live, and we're here with Tupper and Strasz of the VRChat communities, and of course we're talking about DJ stuff. So everybody that's in our chat right now, if you guys have any questions, we're only here for about another 45 minutes or so. We're just kind of rolling on through here, talking about our communities in here, and I kind of want to know, because Mr. Technical over here doing technical things, talking about technical things. I know you talk about technical things too, but like, I want to talk a little bit about the technical things that you've been talking about, that we've been seeing recently within our communities. Yeah. Obviously, the DMX lighting and how cool that is. Is it appropriate to say it's a lighting system, the new one that you guys were showcasing recently with the drones? Is it a lighting system?
Wait, is that are you talking about the light volumes thing?
Yeah, light volumes.
Yeah.
So what are some other cool things about our community that we can look forward to, that you guys enjoy, that we can kind of talk a little bit about?
I mean, I think light volumes is an exciting one to talk about. From a technical standpoint, if you're familiar with world building, you have these things called light probes, which basically say the closer you are to this, the more similar your light is to this pre-calculated kind of light direction and intensity. A light volume instead is you bake that entire thing into a texture, a 3D texture. So textures are normally 2 dimensions, X and Y. 3D texture just adds more layers. It's like Photoshop layers on an image, that you just have a ton of layers stacked up. So if you do that and you project light into that, you can use that as a 3D projection of light into a space, and then use that in a shader. So that's the technical explanation. In reality, what it means is that you get lights that can partially apply to like your avatar, or that you can apply dynamically with some of this new stuff that they're doing. It's very cool. I think once more people kind of trust it, because there's a lot of systems like LTCGI and Area Lit that people have been using just forever, and they just like it, or they don't want to go and yet again change to a new system. I get that too. Like, some people have been burned by like, oh, here's the hot shit this week, we're going to implement this. and it turns out it kills performance or something. Shout out fog systems. I've only ever seen one fog system that didn't murder me. I think that was that Razia's? I think
Yeah,
Razia tuned it. Yeah.
yeah, the one
I
that's
don't
at
know.
Concrete. That one.
Yeah. It was at
And Friend
Concrete, and it was
Club,
at
I think.
another. Yeah, it was Friend Club. Exactly.
Friend
That
Club,
one was
yeah.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Shout out
no,
Friend Club.
Rez's fog system is really good.
Yep. What's
It always
your
looks good.
tech?
What is my tech? Honestly, I don't
Yeah.
think I realistically. I think that the biggest evolution isn't really like a. It's not new, and it's not probably considered in the same way. But I think VRCTL has
Oh yeah.
been pretty revolutionary, and
We love Gantt
continues to
charts.
be. Yeah, because Woody continues to add to it. So like just I think this week, I think maybe a couple days ago, um, they added the ability to export like VRCTL to your Google Cal or whatever. Like they get this, so like you could just automatically sync it, which is great, right? And that has I think been so useful because the typical like I love I love Captain Duck for putting together uh like basically setting the blueprint, right? But I love VRCTL because it's really easy, not joining a Discord, not following, just go to a website and you see everything. That's so good and it's so useful. And so it's good for like, newbie getting in, but it's also really good for like when you're planning your night and you don't know what the hell you're going to do. But it's also useful because you can quickly see at a glance what DJs are playing at certain
Yep.
places. So like, if you are a veteran of the scene, you recognize names, um, who certain people are. So like you can look at a poster, you can see if like these are what genres are going to be played. So like I can quickly scan and be like, oh, I'm really stressed out this weekend. Where are the chill events, right? And I can go and find one. Um,
Yep.
I can go and I can see if I want to listen to drum and bass, which is most of the time, and I can go
Yep.
and I can find that, right? I can go and be like, "Where's Buncha playing?" and just like find and then go, "Okay, that's where I'm gonna go tonight." It's
Yeah.
really simple, and I like that. I think it's made a huge difference for people as far as like how easy it is to get into events.
I was gonna say,
You've seen
what do you
Murdoch's,
find
right?
with the?
You should. Okay, good. Shout out Buncha and Murdoch's. Very good DJs.
That's just it. You're just saying the Murdoch's is
Oh.
awesome.
I mean, yeah. What else do you want me to say? You want to kiss
No,
Murdoch's? What else do you want?
it was like we were talking about something. You were just like, no, I gotta say a shout out. It's important. But yeah, no,
I mean,
we just had Murdoch's on the show.
Oh, nice. Yeah. No, the reason why I mentioned that specifically now is just because like it's funny that you go looking for Buncha. I'll look for Buncha, but I also look for Murdoch's. I love the feature that you can just highlight DJs. It's like they play Neuro, they play Neuro, they play Neuro, they play Neuro. I will show up at these events. I have a very one-track mind.
It's been fun because I was been talking with Murdoch's too. Not to derail this a little bit, but we were kind of discussing because he hangs out with Kupo Beat, and Kupo Beat has been like really behind the scenes and really quiet. But oh my gosh, this guy just out of left field just said, "I have a barn in the back of my house. I used to collect cars, and now with the money that I don't collect cars anymore, he's setting up a venue in this barn with video screens and a virtual mirror, and he has the full CDJ 3000 lineup to travel with." And I'm like, "Excuse me? What?" So, but he was showing me pictures of this, and he wants to put together like a little VRChat kind of venue in the back of his house, in this barn, and with these screens and a whole like spaceship to like take care of business and stream it and stuff. And I'm just like, where have you been, dude? Like, we've been wanting to get you part. Same thing with Murdoch's too. Is he's starting a DJ school in VR, just kind of like showcasing new VRChat up and coming artists, or they want to learn how to DJ professionally too. So just the fact alone of having these guys in here is just so unique.
Yeah.
Sure. I think it's just an extension of like, I mean, the idea, the same thing that Rue said, right? Again, it's just because anybody can put on a headset and you can be anywhere in the world. That means you kind of things get distilled down. Your competition is rough. If you're not if you're not very good at what you do, I hope that's not coming through. But if it is, sorry, that's an ambulance. I promise, it's not the cops. Like if you're a mediocre DJ, and I don't think like I'm addressing anyone in particular here, but you're gonna have a rough time because the people here are good, because they like the standards get raised and raised and raised, and if someone else comes in from outside, like they're gonna land somewhere on that scale, and if someone lands up here, then it just brings up that bar a little bit, and you're fighting against everybody in the world. Like it's cool, it's competitive, but thankfully, and I should have mentioned this earlier, but a lot of people DJ in VRChat just because they love DJing, right? Like they don't do it for money. They don't do it for clout. They don't do it for any of that. They do it because like I can sit here in my friggin' underpants and play music, my music that I like, or my music I made, or my favorite music, and people get really hype about it, and you can see it. Some people, want to figure out a way to make money for it. Hell yeah, go for it.
This is a good takeaway too, because recently you've been investing a little bit of your own time learning how to DJ and be in front of a crowd and stuff like that. So tell us a little bit about your takeaway on that, and being able to perform compared to either wanting to continue on with a hobby, or maybe you want to go professional with it.
Oh God, yeah. I never had so the way I got into it is that my birthday, like a couple of years ago, Two-Tone was like, my birthday gift to you is you're going to play a set at Shelter. And I immediately started panicking. Like just immediate anxiety just slammed the 10. I'm like, why would you give me this? It's like, happy birthday. Go stand in this pile of fire ants I got for you for your birthday. It wasn't that bad. But thankfully, what actually happened is I didn't have to crash course learning how to DJ in like a week. Like I just basically sent him a bunch of like, here's my favorite music. And then he made a mix for me and basically played that pre-record. It was really fun. But before I had ever, I think I'm the only person who has played Shelter and did not own a deck. That may not be true actually, but I'm fairly certain that's the case. Or I guess I didn't play. I sat there and I looked funny while music played. But that got me to go and I went to a DJ store here. I bought a DJJ 400 before they switched over to the FLXs or whatever it's called now. And I kind of just brute forced it. Like I watched a couple videos. And then I learned that people were very opinionated about DJ tutorial videos. And I just ignored people saying that. I just watched it anyways, learned the basics. And I started with the hardest genre, apparently, to a lot of people, which is drum and bass. I don't know why drum and bass is hard. It's very nicely structured. It's easy. Just overlay stuff on top of each other. It's easy.
It's because it's too quick, and you have to make sure your transitions are just as quick.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, that's why they're saying like with 128 BPM. That's why they're like it's safe, because you have enough time to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and you can actually do that. While in drum and bass, you're just like 1, 2, 3, 4 and go. Yeah.
I'm just used to 174. Like that's just it. That's just where I live. I guess that means that if I ever play like I don't know, like lower tempo techno. I've played like higher tempo techno at Chris's event. Techno was pretty fun. I wish I had more tracks. That's what techno made me wish for. I wish I had more than 2 tracks. I was like, oh my God, I just want to layer this here. I want to loop this. I need like 3 or 4 more decks this way. All I had is 2 with that. But it was a fun hobby for a bit, but that anxiety that I originally had never went away. I can stand in front of a stream in front of hundreds or even thousands of people. I can, read out whatever. I can represent VRChat. I feel so comfortable in that it's not even a problem now. Just kind of wiggle and I'm good. If I'm going up to do something creative like that, all of a sudden, like everything just flips to 11. And I get way more anxious. Afterwards, I feel great. I'm like, that wasn't that bad. And then about an hour later, I forget that it wasn't that bad. And I'm just like, oh God, I don't want to ever play again.
Yeah, there's actual people that are just like, they care about you and the fact that you're performing regardless of how many times you could mess up or maybe have messed up or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's, and I mean, when you mess up, nobody notices but you. That's like one of the most important lessons. And like, I've heard it a million times. I still don't believe it, but it is true. And that's the one you have to hear over and over. When you screw up a transition, when you mess something up, Just like
Nobody knows.
play it off, like backspin or something. Make it funny. It doesn't matter. Like it's not that serious. No one notices, and if they did, they'll probably just be like, "Oh, okay." So you got to make it funny.
Yeah, a lot of thoughts. So
Yeah, because I feel
I
like
think
you've been in the scene DJing in this scene for a little while. Yeah.
a little bit. So like one of the, it's funny that Tupper says. I think I have like a lot of like smaller takes, about that. Uh, so like for starters, just like to kind of jump in at the end. I feel like kind of like so like one of the things that's interesting and has always been interesting about like the VR chat DJ scene to me personally. One of the reasons I got into it is because like I've liked drum and bass since I was like in middle school, high school. But I live in a part of the world where like the concept of going to see a DJ live was literally it was never going to happen. There are clubs. I'm on the East Coast, and there's clubs on the East Coast, but they only were playing like club. There wasn't a lot of there wasn't a huge drum and bass scene on the East Coast outside of Toronto, which not really East Coast. And like obviously I wasn't as a wee teenager going to travel to Toronto, right, to see any like artists perform. And so my thing growing up was I just would listen to drum and bass. Like I didn't understand necessarily at first when I was listening to it that like this is made to be DJ'd. I just liked listening to drum and bass. And then I fell into mixes, funny enough, and this is how like a lot of my music taste got started. But like when I was playing video games and people would make like compilations of like PvP movies essentially, I'd watch them and they would always have songs, and then I would go, those songs are cool, and I would look it up. And I once stumbled upon this guy that had made a World of Warcraft PvP video, and he had taken a part of someone's set. And so I then looked up this DJ who was this Seattle DJ, and I just started listening to his sets, and I was like, "Whoa, this is really cool." And when I was actually like a teenager, I was like, "I kind of want to do this." But it was like there was no information. Like it was way, way, way harder. And so like I remember basically, like, using, uh I forget what DAW I used, but, like, literally, I would just, like, take songs and stack them on one another, essentially, like, making mashups, and I would just do that. I'd make mixes that way and just send them to friends, and that was, like, this is what I did. When I then came into VRChat and I found, like, the music scene, it was like, "Holy shit, I can go to see, like, this thing that I gave up that I would ever be able to be part of this kind of thing." And I would go and I would see people that would be DJing. And at first, like drum and bass wasn't a big thing in VR, but then people started, the drum and bass scene came in and people started DJing it. And you have that wonderful experience of you're sitting and watching someone DJ and they start playing a song or an artist that you've never heard anyone else even like before, but like you've been listening to this thing for like 15 years, and then all of a sudden they play another song and you like that one and like that one and like that one, and then like you get this bug because you're like, holy shit, I want to, the thing that you're feeling, you're like, I want to do this but for other people.
Hmm.
And that's what made me want to DJ, is because I like this music. I joke sometimes that like I I have there's a lot of different drum and bass I can play, but the thing that I have the most fun playing is, I love coming into uh clubs in VR chat where it's like a bunch of like zoomers that like know like a couple, like they know like some pendulum, right? They know like they like drum and bass, they've heard drum and bass, and I play drum and bass that got me into drum and bass, and I'll play like a couple other things. And I like doing it because I love getting their reaction, because they're like, oh my god, I've never heard this, is so cool. And it's like, I remember that feeling and now I get to do that to you. And that's
Yeah.
great. It feels so good. And that's like what always gets me through it. And the fact that like typically when I'm DJing, I get nervous, but most of the time I'm just so excited to like just play a song, because like every song I'm playing, I'm like, this song is this is so fucking good. I love this track. I can't wait for you to hear this track. Which like in a way does make me a worse DJ, because I will like I don't I will never, and this is a style thing. I'm never gonna be one of those DJs that's just like every 30 seconds transition, every 30 seconds transition. No, I'm gonna let the track breathe. We're gonna like you're gonna at least get the full chorus, at least get the full verse, and then I'll transition out. Um,
Yep.
but like, yeah, that's just I'm excited about music. I love music, and that's the whole reason why I enjoy DJing.
Super
Yeah.
word of advice there too, especially because how you were saying it, that like I wouldn't say you were playing the standards at the time, but like you enjoy those standards, even though if you play, everybody would play Pendulum, but at the same time too, like there are genuine people out there that haven't heard of Pendulum, so when you play it and then they
blows
hear
my
it.
mind.
Yeah, and what's interesting about all of this too is like I was talking to a friend of mine who is just a classically trained hip hop, old school hip hop DJ, and they were
Nice.
like, Rob, when are you doing a hip hop set? And I go, I don't think I have the catalog for it. I don't think that, because like you want to go as deep underground as you can. You don't want to play Hip Hop Hooray or Jamboree or any of those other tracks. I left my wallet and it's El Segundo, stuff like that, because everyone has heard it. But he made a valid point, which is people could still get down with that. So you can still play Hip Hop Hooray, and you can play it all the time, and people will still enjoy it, regardless of, because no one's going to talk ill will of you for playing it if that's all you have and that's what you're going to be good at. But the same thing goes with the tracks that you think might be basic, somebody else has never heard, and for you to be like, oh, we're connecting, oh, we're playing the thing, like that's super cool.
Well, yeah,
Well, it's. I was just going to say it's what.
Yeah.
It's what people mean when they talk about track selection. Like, it took me a while to figure that out, but what you guys are talking about, that is like, that's what makes good DJs from my experience. Is it's not like technical stuff or whatever, it's track selection. And this is what track selection means, what you guys are talking about. That took me like months to figure out.
Yeah. It took me, like, I was just going to say, like, it took me a long time to get over that. And one of the reasons was like, I'd go to venues and there would be someone that'd be playing drum and bass, but they would be playing like stuff that's like, a full set of this underground stuff that like, is good and I like. But like, all this stuff, they wouldn't be playing like any mainstream tracks. And I'd be like thinking to myself, like, oh, like, is it bad that I'm playing like these tracks, like that I'm dropping a Pendulum track in here? I'm drawing a Chase and Status track in here. But like what I realized after a while is like, no, because people like it, and B, you know, a lot of people it's like you're the liquid guy or you're the neuro guy. How I like to approach it, and I think this is part of it too, is you develop your own style for what you like. And so like I like to take a set in drum and bass where I don't limit myself to like a subgenre. I will start with jungle and then I'll go into like there's a label that I love, Samurai Music, that plays like a very unique style of it's almost so like Tupper and I are both big fans of Black Sun Empire, who's been playing tech step and neuro since the beginning. And their stuff that was like original, it's kind of like that, where it's like this very rhythmic, longer tracks, really, really good stuff. But it's like very like it's a flavor and it's kind of like on that underground scene. But like I know that like I could play 60 minutes of this. I could play 5 hours of this if I wanted to, but I like playing that and then like being like, okay, now we're gonna build up and we're gonna throw some neuro, and now we're gonna have some crossbreed, and now it's okay. Now we're gonna chill out, and I'm gonna use like jungle to transition into like some liquid, or like and I'm just kind of doing this, like going through this wave and kind of taking people to all over the drum and bass spectrum. And sometimes I don't. Sometimes you stay somewhere because that's what you feel like at the time, but I like that, and it took me a while to get there, to realize that like, no, I don't have to play like the same drum and bass set that someone else plays. I can just be like, yeah, I'm gonna play 20 tracks that you've never heard of and 5 tracks that I know you have, right? Like, or another thing too is like everybody, like, I don't say everybody, but like most people that like drum and bass, they're gonna know Pendulum, but like their knowledge of Pendulum probably starts at Hold Your Color, right? And like Pendulum released a bunch of stuff pre Hold Your Color. And like sometimes I will play one of those songs or like one of their remixes. And it's great to see when you get the reaction to someone where either they go, wait, this sounds like Pendulum. and then someone's like, "Yeah, this is Pendulum," or like they're like, "Oh my god, like you played the I love Pendulum," and like everybody, no one plays the B sides kind of thing. So yeah, like I think you kind of find your way, but it is I think that's the most intimidating part. But and this is the last thing I'll say before we go do whatever. Um, Going back to the why VR chat is such a makes people so good, like the whole like Rue joke about like our DJs are better essentially. It's because like if you were DJing IRL, how many DJs can you see a week realistically? If you were in a club scene, how many DJs are you gonna see? How many events are you gonna see in your average American city, right?
Yeah.
Or European city even. Where in VR chat, you can see 100 DJs in a week if you wanted to. And
Easy.
like part of being a good anything is developing taste. And when you are seeing other people, you get intrinsically, oh, this is good. And that's how you learn too, outside of just doing it. And so when you see that constantly, of course your level of what's good or not is just going to be so much higher.
I think it's also
Yeah.
very quirky that you're also in a scenario too. I mean, you can also do this at a festival or IRL somewhere else, but how fun would it be if you're in an instance and let's just say you are looking to connect with someone who does like Pendulum at the same time, but that person happens to be Hatsune Miku, and you're just like, oh my gosh, it's Hatsune Miku, and they like Pendulum, and you're like, oh, we get to hang out. But like, you can't do that. You can kind of do that IRL, but at the same time, that 50-50 of just like, who are you? You're a stranger, you're a creep. At the same time, you're just like, oh, I know you here. You're this anime, and we're gonna come in here and have a good time with it.
Yeah.
But being able to kind of communicate that way is super helpful.
Yeah. I think Hatsune Miku is probably more of an infected mushroom fan, honestly. She seems very, psytrancey kind of. That makes a lot
There's
more
still like
sense.
2/3 of her that we still haven't seen yet.
Yeah, exactly. She's gonna drop like some like throwback like Legend of the Black Shawarma level shit from like Miku, and it's gonna break the world. Everyone's gonna be like, "What the hell is this?" It's like, yeah, you got to go back like 20 years. Look at this album.
It's already bad
Yeah,
enough.
like
We go to one instance. There's always one person as Miku, and I'm just like, I didn't know you enjoyed this. That's cool.
Yeah,
you also get something else that's really cool too. And this is like one of the things is um there's we sometimes like that always goes back to like the whole like, oh, like I want to make money thing, and yeah, like go for it 100%. But what is also there's a lot of people like hiding, and some of them hide in plain sight for people that are like
mhm,
industry in VR chat that are like relatively successful music artists, um, and or just straight up successful music artists. And it's interesting to get their perspective because a lot of them will come to VR chat because they'll say something along the lines of like, "This feels like how it used to feel." Um,
mm,
we used to have a coworker that uh, knew Dead Mouse, for example. And one of the things that I had heard through this coworker was that one of um, his experiences was more or less like, "Oh, this reminds me of like those older times," right? Because
yeah,
there's like this sense of like the love of the game where it's like real life music stuff, very like, and it is what it is. It like this happens to everything. It's like you Ticketmaster, big events, it's a lot of corporate stuff, a lot of politics, all that kind of thing. Whereas like in VR chat, there are people that want to make a living, like you said earlier, but like a lot of people just do it for the love of the game. And there's something that's really like when people just love music and you get to be around like a bunch of people that are really deep into the thing that you do, it's a great feeling. And I think that
mhm,
one thing I do say when I meet somebody like that and they're talking about like, oh, like blah blah blah, this music scene's bigger in real whatever, is there's no place that exists right now where you can go and you can interact with a bunch of people that are going to have that level of passion just about the music. Where it's like you can go into and you can like I go to concerts all the time. You'll go to a concert and, like, there'll be, like, 10 people that are hardcore fans there. You go to, like, something here, a music event for an artist that's, like, somewhat famous, there's gonna be filled to the brim of people that are, like, literally crying because, like, they're
yeah,
getting to see this person. And that's just it's great. It's great.
And I'm really
yeah,
glad that you brought that up too, especially because of the fact that like we're always looking to bridge the gap between what we're doing in here compared to the IRL scene. And one of the things that one of the things I wanted to accomplish when I went to the Winter Music Conference in Miami happens to be a week before Ultra. Get this. I don't know if you guys know this. This is what I learned this year. They have a meetup conference of all the record labels, all the producers, all the DJs a week before Ultra. So everybody's in town in Miami for Ultra, but the week before that coincides with what they call Miami Music Week, where all of the clubs literally are free RSVP tickets to go see all of these performers. I got to see a lot of my favorite DJs. I actually got to see the Crystal Method perform, and I was like,
Ooh.
get out of here. That was a free
Holy
ticket.
shit.
So I'm just like,
that's incredible. I'd
right?
pay hundreds of dollars to do
being
that.
there, being there was just so interesting because, again, I got to talk with the CEO of DimMac, which we were talking about earlier, and the fact that I was talking with Laidback Luke and how Laidback Luke was kind of looking into VR and stuff like that. But I genuinely wanted their opinion because it was funny enough because we're a little short on time. We don't have enough time to talk about this at all. But originally what they wanted to do, they wanted to do a VR rave experience with a third party as far as the conference was concerned, but nothing worked because no one had interest in it. And for me to talk to them and say, you guys, it's inevitable, on YouTube, social media, VRChat is always there, premier #1 as far as our economy and the things that we're doing in here compared to having, much larger names in here to perform. I genuinely asked some of the people there, I said, what do you guys think a little bit about this? And there were a couple of things that they asked me. #1 was like, how many people would you consider a full instance? Which I told them 80. And for them, it was a matter of, well, that's not too much. You can't fill a whole stadium with 80 people. But at the same time, I'm like, all right, we get it. And then the second question was, how much money do the DJs make in VR? And I was like, it's all passion. It's all hobby. I mean, there is that continuous, V-Buck economy that was being introduced several years ago, but I don't want to say we're going to get too much into it because even the clubs don't know how to even put that together comparable to how much money they can ingest compared to what the DJs either should earn or what they desire to earn. And all of that is just it's all mumbled and jumbled. So obviously I don't want to get too much into it, but for me, it's just a matter of understanding of what is presented on YouTube via videos comparable to the festivals that we have in here, or even like, for example, Project Fest or VRChat coming up and stuff like that, because it's been getting a lot of notable attention. But I want to kind of open this box up for the limited time that we have to kind of discuss of like the things that you've seen in here compared to how we are looking to bridge the gap between the DJs, because they're all really good in here.
Yeah.
I got to go to Furry Weekend Atlanta this year, and I got to perform. But I also noticed that about 90% of the DJs at Furry Weekend Atlanta are from VRChat. And I'm just like, that is worth mentioning. Like, there's like a lot of you, like what's going on with this? And it's not a matter of them earning money. They're getting a badge to go and perform, but that's still like 17,000 attendees this year, 2,000 more than last year. You can't not want to talk about that. So I kind of want to know your opinions about that. I mean, while we do hobby stuff in here, and we do want to have some sort of influence of getting celebrities in here, I'm sure. That's a kind of a very fun thing to do. But even more so, how can we continue to bridge the gap between the performances that we have in here compared to the video evidence that's posted on like things like YouTube?
Right. I think external people are going to go the same pathway that VRChat like club development has gone, right? Like earlier we talked about how everybody started out building essentially like giant like amphitheaters with, I want to have a giant outdoor festival with tens of thousands of people. That's how they build the world. And you can't fill it because there's only 80. I think there needs to be a bit of you need to speed run someone through that realization process of like, if someone does tell you, if they come to you and say, I can build a VR platform where I can fit 10,000 people or 80,000 people into a stadium and they can all see, no, they can't. What they can do is they can put you down in a view where a bunch of things spawn around you that are completely static that represent 79,999 other people, and then you get your spot. VRChat's different. Everybody is treated as like a fully expressive individual. So that's the focus, right? Music is important here. Obviously, it's what we're talking about. But the focus here is the capability of someone to be fully present in the environment and also be there with them. And the technology just, isn't quite there, and if people keep making their avatars shittier every time a new 50, 60, 70, 90 comes out, we're probably never going to get there. But that is kind of the problem, right? Like when you say, oh, I run a event in VR, the first thought that's going to come to a business person is like, okay, well, there's infinite square footage. There's no fire code for me to worry about. I can squeeze in as many people as I want to, which is a valid take. And then when you tell them, oh, you can only fit 80, now the fire marshals run in and said, okay, well, you can only have 80 people in this, as a room as big as you want it to be. So I get the hesitation, but there's also like, we figured out ways around it, right? There's ways to mitigate that problem, either by broadcasting, like many venues do. Shelter notably uses overflows to great effect. And there's other tech out there that could help with it. But I think that's one of the big things. I think this is a bit tangential, but that passion kind of driven attitude that a lot of people have, people also use that as a defense mechanism, essentially, like as a filter, right? If someone saw all of a sudden that we've got, like, I don't know, Tiesto played in VRChat or something like that, a lot of people would write that off as like, that's not real. That's not this place. And I get what they mean when they say that, right? Like I actually vibe with that opinion. But there is going to be this direct kind of, as time goes on, there's going to be a direct conflict behind the people that are here now or will be here in the future, and that do it because they love it, because they love the game. They love playing music. They love getting people to experience the music. And then there's going to be a conflict of these people that come in and see it's capitalism, right? They come in and see a market opportunity. They see a way that people would pay money to experience this. But then the people who are coming into market are going to start chopping off parts of this experience to make room for themselves. And people have experienced this dozens of times. I've experienced it hundreds of times across different things in the internet, different communities, that kind of thing. You start off small and someone comes in and says, I could monetize this. And there are ways to do it right without, impacting everything overall. But I think most people are super jaded because that's like 10% of the time they do it right. 90% of the time they just fuck it all up. Which is funny, I guess, coming from someone who's like speaking for the face of a platform, who's like saying we need money to be alive, so we're building these marketplaces. I think it's a little bit different, right? Like we're doing this so that VRChat can keep the gerbils running, like so the servers keep going. But someone who would build that kind of thing is doing it because they see a market opportunity and they're like, I can print money here. They're not wrong, but people are going to defend that pretty heavily. So that's kind of my two main points.
It's not even just for the amount of money that's being received. It's just the amount of money for, like, I'm seeing it more like ticket sales, let's just say. Like, and that's the thing that's kind of a little cross in translation. I'm trying to understand where the transition piece is between coming in here and having that 80 cap instance, which I'll ask you the question in a little bit, but like having that 80 cap instance, but being able to translate that to, let's just say, a promoter of an IRL club and say, I have weight. This is the weight that I can provide. And because of the fact that I have steady growth of 80 people every time, is that a proper way that we can continue to transition and translate into regular ticket sales through club stuff? Because that's one of the cross parts that you could be a hobbyist in here and you could do DJing as a hobby, but there's people that are looking to take that extra step. And one of the things that we had been kind of talking about is the only things that they can show are videos that they've put together from recording in here compared to the amount of size, but they can't also say that they've made any money in here. But for an IRL club, it's more just based off of ticket sales. So where would you think that translation should be when we're trying to kind of make that move?
I mean,
I have a
you kind of hold on, let me get this out of my head. You kind of answered it ahead of time a little bit with FWA. Like FWA and in particular Ferality as well have solved this problem. You can right now, with the systems available to you, all you have to, like the hardest part is getting into the VRChat like World Creator Program so that you can get access to monetization. You could make a system where you have a world that you can open any instance of, and you've built a system in there that's very much like Ferality. I'm not sure if you saw Club Fin or not. It's a crazy bit of technology. You can play a live show, live DJs, or pre-record stuff and super produce it and everything, or you could do it real time. It doesn't really matter. And then require, hey, in order to join this, you need to pay a $5 ticket. And it lets you in the world. You can do that right now. That tech exists. No one's done it yet because I think people are a little afraid. But you can totally do that right now. You could turn it into a weekly, monthly, whatever thing. And you can have as many people as you want, because all you do, if you want to open up a new like instance, oh, this one's full, you just let people make new instances, because the tech's built into the world. Now it's hard. There's not a lot of supporting systems. We're not Apple. You're not going to roll in, push button, and say throw party. Like, that doesn't exist. It does require, you got to basically build a Unity project. There's lots of people in the community that would be more than happy to like get a paycheck to build that for somebody. I think that's one of the biggest missing things that I've just been watching, like, kind of sit there in the background. The tech is there, all the parts are there, all the talent is here. There's opportunity to do that. No one's kind of jumped off the cliff, like taken the leap of faith to do that. I think that would rule. I would pay $5 like for a door charge to, like, if Crystal Method came in, I'd pay $100. Fuck yeah. But yeah, it's big opportunity there.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely opportunity there. I think that the reasons why people haven't done it is because there's this incongruity between, like, no one in the everyone that's in the club scene on this side that has the technical aptitude to do this kind of thing, are all almost opposed to the very concept of it, and the people that
Yeah.
are outside of it who would be open to it don't have the technical aptitude and don't really understand like that side of it. And so I think that there's this gulf in the middle of, like, that would take someone that is able to cross and understand and make it work in a way that's viable, that would be solving some other problem. So for, like, in my opinion, what would probably have to happen is, the closest I think we've come is someone like Muzz, but I think you would need someone that was maybe a little bit more driven than that, and a little bit more probably. I don't know. I think about folks that are producers that are also really internet savvy, and how actually, so, like, Eliminate, for example, if you're familiar with him, he's a successful producer, but very much because of his music, that's where he started, but he's also done a really good job of building a social following based on his streams. Someone like him, I feel like, yeah, that makes sense to translate if he's like, I want to bring people into, I want to have events that everybody can attend, like this big audience that I have that they can come into, but, like, I don't want to charge like an insane amount of money for it. Um, and I'm not trying to do it to get rich. I'm just like, I want to provide an experience for my fans, and also, much like my streaming career, this can help grow my audience, right? And, like, I also will take part in this community, and I think something like that would work. But I think the amount of people that, like, that Venn diagram, like, works for is not super huge. I do think that there's big artists that get it and then will come into VRChat and be like, "Okay, I get this." Um,
Yeah.
but I think it's a lot harder to go in the other direction. And I think this is my hottest take. I don't think that's a problem. I understand the perspective of, like, wanting to make it so, like, people, DJs in VR can, make a career out of it. But this is a weird comparison, but, I've just started to get into cycling, and in cycling, they have, like, your indoor trainers, and they have things like Zwift, which is basically kinda like an MMO, but it's like a cycling MMO. And the thing is, like, riding on that is not the same as cycling. Same thing as cars, like with Gran Turismo, right? You have Gran Turismo, and you can have a big sim rank set up, and theoretically, there have been people that have gone from Sims to then being professional racers. But it's extremely hard. The competition is very hard, and there's huge barriers: the money, the sponsorships, everything. And to go to a sponsorship, much like being a DJ in VR, if it's to promoters, same kind of comparison, and you're like, "Hey, I'm really good here. I'm a star in this community. You should give me, like, tens of thousands of dollars so I can race real life car." Most people, like, yeah, like 1% of people are gonna say, "Yeah, we'll give you a shot," but most people aren't going to get that. However, that doesn't mean that that experience isn't, like, worth anything. And I think that if I'm an artist, if I'm a DJ in VR, and I'm thinking to myself, how do I take the next step? I'm not thinking, how can I monetize this in VR? I'm treating VR is my, like, if you're a comedian and you're going to that small nightclub to try out material. You're not going, like, in front of a big tour to try out new jokes. you're trying that out in small nightclubs. If I'm a DJ in VRChat, I'm DJing every weekend and I'm honing my craft in VR and then taking my most polished, my grouping of sets or my most, everything I learn, and then I'm taking it and then I'm trying to build that career in my local scene. And the thing is, if you don't have a local scene, then like then it is what it is. You need to decide if you need to make a jump somewhere to make that happen. 'Cause I don't necessarily think that VRChat isn't going to do it for you. You can do it. It's possible. It's not that it is impossible, but I think you're looking at a hammer and being like, how do I make this a screwdriver?
Yeah.
That's my hot take.
There's a really big pill to swallow too with all of this as well, and not to get too many people too confused in chat, because I'm reading the chat as well. It's not a matter of finding the money to be pushed into the program. It's the amount of a way to validate what your worth is to make the next steps down the road. You could be a hobbyist DJ in here and continue to do the very fun thing that you enjoy to do. There's a lot of people in here that are looking for that next step to be able to play much larger venues. And once you start to get a piece of that candy and that limelight in here, you're going to say to yourself, huh, it's almost the same thing as Twitch. You get your first bits, you get your first subs, and you're like, wait, I can make money off of this? I can make it into my career? And then you start to kind of fall off the handle a little bit because you're just like, I want more. But at the same time, too, you really technically could just be in here and exist. But that makes a really valid point, is that there are a lot of people in here, as they're continuing on with the business strategy and understanding what they're worth. It's difficult because you're transitioning from literally playing for free compared to any sort of community feedback that you get to, well, if you're really good, why aren't you charging any money to perform? So you do have to kind of lean against the wind a bit to say, okay, how much does a DJ normally get? How much money do they get through ticket sales? Do a little bit of research online. But again, charging $5 at the door is should be enough. It shouldn't be a lot, but at the same time too, like that's always that. But that's statistics. Like if you're gonna want to perform at a big club or a much larger, past 80 people cap, you're gonna need that evidence that you can hold that, and people are genuinely gonna give you those monies because you provide a really good product. Yeah,
I think it is. I simultaneously present the opportunity that I mentioned before, and then I also agree with Strasz, right? Like you can't, just because you can doesn't mean people want to or should. It is really up to people what they want to do. I do want to address specifically, like some people in chat are saying, monetizing VRChat seems a little bit too soon. We have been around for 11 years, so I'm not sure when soon stopped being too soon. And
it's constantly
in the
free cough. Yeah.
And the club scene in particular isn't brand new either, right? Like, I mean, we've been talking about it. Started, depending on how you define it, 2017 or 2018. So it's in no sense of the word is it soon. Now, if you came in and you were a fresh face club owner, you knew nothing about VRChat, and you just roll in, it's like $10 to get in, and we'll play. We're bringing in DJs. It's like, people are going to tell you to go fuck off, and rightly so. Like, your wallet's going to speak. But if there is a reason, if there is either it's I really like these DJs, or I really like this venue, or I understand the costs that are involved with developing this. Basically, if you can somehow mentally justify, okay, it's $5, right? Like I could spend this on 2 McDoubles at McDonald's, or I could do this in VRChat and support something I like. That is another way of doing it. A lot of people also mention tip jars. I'm actually not a huge fan of tip jars in a lot of situations. I think it makes a lot of creators sell themselves short. I've seen a lot of people build crazy huge things that take hundreds of hours of effort and huge amounts of talent and skill that they built up over time through pain, blood, sweat, and tears. And they're like, please give me money, woo. And it's like, no, ask for money. It's okay. You're allowed to make a little golden gun skin or something, charge $5 for it. People will buy it. And the tip jar is sure, you can have that as an option, but you absolutely should find a way to support yourself. If you want to turn it into what you're talking about, Rob, I can turn this into something where I can actually maybe pay for some of my gas, pay for some of my time, pay for some of my bills. That's your goal there, then sure. If you're just doing it for passion, then don't mix it up. Don't go too far into that, because then it'll start feeling bad.
It's the same thing with VRC Plus too, as well. Like you could still be in here without VRC Plus, but I would love to give back to the community and the developers and the team that all have made my passions happen, as well as my enjoyment. You know, it's not every day that I can just go into a theme park for free and just ride the rides for free. But you know, you have to give it up to the people that pay the electricity and keep the lights on, even though they are metaphorical lights in here.
Well, we are also aware that, as many people say, VRChat is the most expensive free game. And the problem is that we don't get a dime of that most expensive part. We don't get cuts from booth. Valve doesn't cut us checks. HTC doesn't cut us checks. Like, I love all the, oh, dude, I wish we had more times that we could talk about the shitpost stories and I love reading these wild ass rumors. I'm on my 5th yacht, apparently. That's not true. I drive my girlfriend's car. The only vehicle I own is an electric scooter that I probably shouldn't own. It's a South American issue. I don't think I'm allowed to have it here, but yeah, that's my yacht.
I'm sure there'll be more times where we can come on here and just kind of spill the beans, and then we'll just, I don't want to say a therapy session, but at the same time.
What's your vehicle? Isn't it a helicopter?
Yeah, I have a helicopter, which would be sick.
Yeah, I know. I want a helicopter.
I'm also not saying that we might be seeing more lore about the cube. We could probably put a helicopter on the cube or have it fly.
Oh, shit. That's not a bad idea.
Fly.
I don't know. We don't know what the cube's capable of. We have no idea. Not a clue.
I'm sure we're gonna learn more about that in the future. Yeah, absolutely.
You'll find
no
out
doubt.
soon.
I mean, even Saturday night, we had Saturday night in the mix, so we had a whole wall full of cubes, and then we were like, audio link? That's got audio link on it? Like, so we were just kind of enjoying that. But it's VRCDJ Live. We're sitting here with Tupper and Strasz of VRChat, and of course, we are running a little bit out of time and on the other side of things. And before we get on out of here, we usually got a nice little quick rapid fire for all of our guests in here, to kind of ask some really fun questions and as we carry on with here. And one of the things that obviously with everything that you guys got going on here, even more so the things you have seen in the community, what is a word of advice that you would offer to either anyone wanting to join the development team or want to get into DJing?
Yeah. Do you want the shitpost or the real one?
It's up to you. I mean, you're more than welcome to do both if you want.
Oh, okay. The shitpost one is optimize your avatar. If I go in an interview and someone's wearing a very port, like 600 megs, that's like, I'm probably going to write that down. I'm not even joking. That is actually probably a note. As far as as far as actual things for VRChat dev team, I don't know. We're hiring. Some of the roles that we're looking for are, a lot of people are always looking for I want to get into game development here, that kind of thing. So they're looking for entry level. We got a lot of people filling the gaps on that kind of skill set. We have a lot of good people at VRChat that are super multi-talented. So those are kind of covered. But you are a talented, product manager, product developer, or a Unity engineer. What else do we have that's up?
Some designer positions, I think, maybe.
Yeah, if you're like a actual story designer by trade, hit us up. As far as DJing goes, I don't know, go buy a deck, just do it. You don't even need a deck, just download friggin' virtual DJ and do it with your mouse and keyboard. You can do it. It's not that hard.
Proper.
Fuck up a bunch. It's fine. You're gonna fuck up a bunch.
What for you, Strasz?
Yeah. Just if you'd want to get into DJing, the best thing I can say is just start putting together playlists. Even what I tell people is oh, I don't have decks yet. Doesn't matter. Just put together playlists. Think about it like you're putting together a mixtape for a friend. Just make 30 of them. Just every day be what if I was making a mixtape for this one friend? Just put a bunch of put 30 songs in a thing. And congratulations, you're basically building crates. So that's that. And same answer for the job stuff. Honestly, I get asked this question all the time. People are always how do I work at VRChat? Well, you just apply. You just got to shoot your shot. You just got to find a position that makes sense.
Yeah, we are a real company. We're not just a bunch of people in a Discord server talking to each other about what should we work on next. We have applications. You got to put it through. You got to do interviews. We have a 401k. We got health benefits. It's real. We're real. We just don't have enough.
It's already bad enough that there's the meme of the job application being oh no, I don't want to do this job application. As we carry on, what are a couple of new musical artists, DJs that you've been listening to recently?
New ones. I don't know.
Not involved with VRChat.
Right. Not involved with the VRChat?
Yeah, any new artists that you're listening to on Spotify, anything like that?
Nice. I've actually been kind of like reversing back through a lot of like my 2000s time, because I use YouTube Music and I found a playlist of like Adult Swim bumps. And I was like, oh yeah, this is the shit. And then I kind of worked through that to Samurai Champloo, and now and I listen to that soundtrack and like related stuff and Nujabes. I fucking love Nujabes. And then I just started listening again to. It's why I mentioned Infected Mushroom earlier. Infected Mushroom, Zircon, some early OC remix stuff. I don't know. I'm stepping back through time right now, so I don't have new stuff.
That's fair.
Yeah, I've also been one of my favorite old bands that like basically put me on my musical path was a band called Machine Supremacy. I've been listening to them a lot lately. Just I think it's because it's summer. It makes me happy and it's good for running around, that kind of thing, which I do a lot of cardio. But outside of that, for electronic music, they're definitely not underground, but Ring Nord is really good. It's basically one of the dudes from Noisia, along with somebody else. It's skipping my brain, but it's just like a perfect pairing. They only put out like 3 songs so far, but they're all like literally. If you like Noisia and you're like one of those people that's like the sound design is so good, then like this is music for you. Where it's just like someone just sat in a lab for 30 hours and just finely tuned one singular patch, out of like 50 in a song. Like that. This is basically that.
Like
So that's
finally
pretty
got
good.
it right.
Yeah. Also, this is kind of a weird thing, but I think it's pronounced Eprom. They do a lot of 140, but they have a track called The Search, and it's on an album called Thank You Dream Girl, I believe. And there was a meme post last year about this dude that had a dream where like some girl had told him about like this genre that it was like at like 212 BPM and it's in
Oh yeah,
3/4 and
yeah. I remember
it's
that.
like, was it 3/4? Like I remember, but it's like 3/4 and like it's got like just weird crunchy sounds and like vocals or something. And basically a bunch of artists actually made songs in this genre and then put them together. And their track is like kind of this I can only just it's like kind of almost breakcore adjacent. And I love it. And speaking of breakcore, Igor has also been putting out a bunch of singles for their new album, and they've all been really good. More on the metal side of things. But yeah,
Yep.
I'm always listening to
Very
new music.
very long answer for a rapid fire, but you got it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I
As
forgot it was
far
a
as
rapid fire.
yeah, don't worry, we're working our way. It's fine. Who are the top 3 DJs in VR chat that we should be looking forward to?
Oh, I'm just gonna name the people that I see the most often and enjoy. Murdoch's was mentioned earlier. Always try and go see Murdoch's when I can. Zia played recently at Shelter and was fucking amazing. And as far as playing the crowd, honestly, I just really like how Two Tone like closes out the night. So 2TD is very good at playing the Shelter crowd.
Yeah, probably Buncha. I mentioned them earlier. I always love their sets. I don't want to say. I'm trying to say unique people. Uh, God, this is difficult because like,
Yeah, you,
who am
you
I
can't
gonna
play
say?
the everybody's great card here. No.
Yeah. So I will say instead of saying Bunch is the only DJ that I will call it individually. What I will instead say is that I basically love I love every time that I've gone to, a lot of time no, actually, I'm gonna name people, but I'm gonna name people from the Japanese scene because it feels like it's more fair. Obake, who is literally a
Oh,
classic,
yeah.
but he's also a really talented producer. I'm not a techno person, but he puts out the only techno that I like consistently, um, as well as, Kenorin, who I haven't had a chance to
Oh,
see them
yeah.
play in VRChat a lot, but, I have them to thank actually. So like I got to talk to them for my video back in the day. But I used to literally get up at like whenever they would be playing a set in Japan and try and like literally they'd be on my laptop in bed, listening,
Yeah.
because they're like who got me into like a lot of more of the atmospheric drum and bass, and yeah, that kind of stuff, as well as
Yeah.
hardstyle, which I usually don't like hardstyle, but whenever they play hardstyle, I really like it.
It's always
Yeah.
very exciting to be able to see some of their favorite DJs in here as well, and finding the time to search the timeline, come on in and see some new talent. There's still a lot of people I need to see in here, so being able to see that is very important. Before we get on out of here, where can we find you guys on the internet, and where can we find VRChat on the internet?
VRChat's very easy. Twitter.com. No, I'm just going to keep saying twitter.com forever. Twitter.com/VRChat, or on Blue Sky at VRChat.com. For me, I am Tupper on Twitter, but I don't really post there that much, even though I'm active again, kind of. And on Blue Sky, it's Tupper.com. Aside from that, I don't know, come find me in VRChat. There's Tupper up there. Well, where else on the internet am I? I'm in space. You can't find me there. That would be OPSEC.
Yeah, same thing. I'm mostly on Blue Sky. That's the only social network that I post on. Strasz, very simple. At whatever the default Blue Sky domain is. And yeah, on YouTube, if you could still find my video essays, Strasz Films. Perhaps I will release another one day. Don't post on Twitter, but I do exist on there. I'm sure if I make another video essay, I'll throw it out there. You can probably find me every 2 weeks on the dev update, or whenever we
Every
put
Friday
a
on the
patch out
stream.
in the patch notes. Yeah, or every Friday on the stream. Yeah.
Yeah, we
We're
should
seeing,
talk
a
about
stream,
that.
we're seeing a stream tomorrow, right?
No,
No,
we're
we're
on
off.
vacation.
Oh,
We
well,
ain't
there we
doing
go.
shit.
We're on vacation.
And normally
No.
Fridays, it's twitch.tv/VRChat. We'll tune in. We'll be there, probably.
Yeah. You can always go and we'll yell. Somehow I'm actually less on, like I'm more normal here. I'm more unhinged when I'm on stream on company time, which is really funny to
Yep.
me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's
Cookies,
just a
Ev,
matter of
there
just
you go.
sitting here and then, like, spill the tea, say what you want. It's very open. And he's got a lot of guests in here, too, and they're just like, could I swear in here? I'm like, you can do whatever you want, man. It's your hours. No doubt. But anyway,
Yeah.
again, Tupper and Strasz of VRChat, thank you guys for coming by to VRC DJ Live, and we're going to have to find some time. We're going to need to find, like, a once a month, have you come in and just be like, well, Rob, let me tell you about what's happening here. We're going to just tell you about what's going on.
Sounds
But
good.
we'd love to have you back here on the program, no doubt.
Yep.
Awesome.
Also, apologies to the questions we had in chat. I know it says apparently that we'd get to them, but we have too much. Like this is a problem. Like
Yeah,
that we
we
run
don't
into
shut the
often.
hell up.
We do not shut up. I had the same problem with Big Screen CEO. We did a thing recently, and both of us yapped for entirely too long. It's a common
Listen, I was
problem.
going to say that you sat down with the Metaverse DGen, and it was kind of like 2 hours,
was
something like
great.
that. I'm
Dude,
still
that was-
holding
that
the
was a great
record
interview.
I'm still holding the record of 3 hours and 16 minutes. So
Ooh,
yeah,
that's a long interview.
I talk a
need
lot
some-
too. I'm glad
Yeah,
I'm not
you
a
need some
guest on this
drinks or
program.
something when you're going that long. You need like
Yeah.
I don't know, something on call.
No doubt. But thank you guys for coming by, and everybody here
Thanks for
in
having us on.
chat, thank you for coming by to VRC DJ Live. Of course, we have programming here every Thursday up on twitch.tv/VRC DJ Live. We're going to have your highlights and replays up on YouTube at the same name at VRC DJ Live, so make sure you're following us there. We're on Blue Sky and X. Damn, I gotta call it X. I want to call it Twitter.
You don't have to. It's a free country.
That's true. Yeah, I'll just say. Well, we have a link tree. Go and see everything up on the link tree. We also have an Instagram up
There
there
you
as
go.
well. So make sure you're following us all over there, and of course, make sure you're tuning in next week as we're going to be joined by Lun and VRChat, and Hickey
Ooh.
is going to be joining us because for some reason that guy wants to come on here and talk about rave stuff because he's like, back in my day we were doing a lot of rave stuff. So I'm like,
That sounds
this
just
is the
like Loon.
opportu-
That's crazy.
Yeah, there's the opportunity to come on here and just kind of talk a little bit about that. Of course, the rest of our programming, we're going to be talking with Fia, who's going to be joining us, talking about Club Bunny, everything with the virtual reality show. We might also be joined by another special guest with Fia. We haven't figured that out yet, but we will let you know when we do. And then towards the end of the month, we're actually going to be joined by Brother White Mage, who is also part of our rave community, but is also the rave director at MomoCon. So we're going to have him in here to kind of talk about his process because he wants to get some VRChat integration as well. So for Tupper and for Strasz, for VRChat and the team of VRCDJLIVE, I'm Rob Roman. Thank you guys for coming by, and we will see you next time. Bye.